Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed!
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Good morning.
Start spreading the news. They can no longer play. They're no longer a part of it. New York, New York.
Are you really celebrating the demise of a team?
Yankees lose.
Wow.
Do I feel like a good person because of it? I do not. Do I care that I do not? I also do not.
Need to find out a way to expunge, to release all that hatred in your heart.
Yankees lose. You know, there's not many teams. There's not many teams that I genuinely, emotionally take pleasure in their suffering, in their failure.
Do you hate them because it's cool to hate them?
No.
Because, so you actually
No,
have
I hate
reasons?
them.
Have they hurt a team that you root for to the degree that you don't like them anymore?
I hate them because I am a baseball fan.
Okay, that
you
doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
It doesn't.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
I hate them because I'm a baseball fan, and I would be willing.
I have reasons behind all my hate, and yours,
I have a reason.
Yours
I'm a
is-
baseball fan.
It's too general.
No. To you, to me, I'm a baseball fan.
Okay,
I am
all
a
right,
dyed in
all
the
right.
wool since I was a kid.
So
lover
Yankees
of baseball.
fans are not baseball fans.
No, they are baseball fans, and they're also obnoxious and over the top and arrogant and elitist and genuinely a pain in the ass most of the time.
All right, sounds like you're describing Clemson fans.
Yes,
I don't.
that's your reason for hate. Yes.
No, that's not
Your
my
reason for hate
that's not
is
my
their
reason.
fans.
You know
Your reason isn't their fans?
No, my reason is they threatened to throw my daughter over the side of the.
Who did that?
Yeah.
Who did that?
So you're saying that you've had a similar experience with the Yankees fans?
Most times I interact with them.
Okay.
They find
They
ways.
threaten to kill you. They threaten to
be
throw
irritating.
someone you loved over the side of a stadium.
No, they threaten to kill my joy and my happiness.
Okay. Why? Because
All the time.
it's popular to hate them. I
Okay.
Just
All right.
just seems
Listen,
that way.
Listen, you can try.
Most people who say that they don't like the Yankees don't really have a reason why. Well, they buy championships. Since when?
First off,
When's the last time they bought a championship?
Good morning, by the way. How are you, buddy? We haven't actually talked yet.
I'm good. It's
Good,
toasty
I'm
in
glad.
here, though. It's
It
making
is a
me
little
feel
warm.
surly.
It is a little warm. Now,
It's what happens when someone's in the studio the night before. You got to remember, if you get here before me on Thursday, please come turn it down.
bet we'll do from now on. Now, with that being said,
You have to go 2 rotations. Didn't even know that's possible.
didn't
but-
know that was possible
Yes.
on our 1962 thermostat. Was unaware. The answer to that is it has been 16 years since the New York Yankees won a World Series championship. In fact,
Is this the same reason why you don't like Dallas?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't.
Yeah. And by the
mean-
way, when I've said that, you've never come at me with, do you just do it because it's popular to hate Dallas? No. You know why.
Well,
You know why.
well, you've had experiences with Jerry Jones, and you've talked about that on the air. So
Jerry
I get the personal reasons behind that.
Jerry Jones.
But the Yankees, I just don't get. So, and I still don't get, even though you try to explain it to me.
Listen,
You said it's because you're a baseball fan, and that doesn't sound like a reason.
I understand that. And I'm going to say this, and I don't think that this is going to be taken personally. If it is, it's not intended to.
Well,
You're not a baseball guy.
If you preface that by that, yeah, well,
You're not a baseball
You know,
guy.
one of the reasons why I'm not a baseball guy, because of stuff like that, because of unwritten rules, and because hatred for no reason.
Yes, we definitely
If I
don't.
dislike a team, I've got a good reason
Well,
to
good
dislike
for
a
you.
team.
You're better than all of us then.
That is not true.
Well, you're better than all of us.
If I was better than you, I'd make more money.
But that would be more talented.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That, pal,
No, that was personal.
you and I have had the conversation. All right. I think we know.
Hey,
So
I've reached my potential.
Here is-
So, I mean, you know.
I may have too. So here's the spot. I am a baseball fan and have been since I was a cheering. Have been for a very long time. And I can tell you that dating back to my cheering hood all the way up till now, there has never been a spot. And when I say never been a spot where I have been around a mass gathering, and by mass, I mean like more than 4 of them, Yankees fans, that they weren't just obnoxious. And this is from a Saints fan, because we're also, as is evidenced by the texter who said, irony equals Rob screaming at the top of his lungs about how Yankee fans are obnoxious and over the top. Yeah, I know. But see, I'm obnoxious and over the top in a fun, happy, lovey-dovey kind of way. Yankees fans are, yeah, I know that for a fact. That's the only reason I have been paid in my career so far. The Yankees fans, when they gather in groups of 4 or more, are loud and obnoxious, and they're kind of mean about it, right? Like, they're kind of jerks about it.
I don't believe I've ever met a Yankees fan, and I think your views on certain fan bases are skewed because you've had more experience with it. So I would
wait, stop right there. Stop right there. Your views are skewed because you've had more experience. That's how you unskew a view. You skew a view with less experience in that situation.
Listen, if you met 2 Yankees fans and I've met 0 and those 2 were jerks, 100% the entire fan base is a jerk to you. But I haven't met any, so I cannot form that opinion.
Correct.
I could jump on your bandwagon and go, I just back Rob Yes Man. I'm Rob's Yes Man. He hates him, I hate him too. Let's go get him.
I have been to New York City 4 times since I moved here.
That makes you an expert.
More than you.
No, I know.
Yes. I have been to New York 4 times since I moved here. Not in my lifetime. It's probably closer to 10 or 12.
I had the opportunity once and I didn't want to go.
And for the record.
Because from what I understand, there's a lot of people and I just, that's.
Oh, there is a Schlittler load of people in New York City. You're very lucky, by the way. He got cranked last night. So you don't have any Cam Schlittler references in the sports.
By cranked, you mean he lost?
Yes, he lost.
Okay.
That's why Yankees lose. So I have been in New York probably a dozen times in my life. I've been there, I think, I've been there 4 times since I moved here. And I will say, as a brief aside, I love New York City. I love New York City. In fact, the wife and I were talking a couple of days ago about when are we going back? Like, I want to go back to Boston because history, and I'm a nerd, but we both want to get back to, I love New York City. I do. And I have many times made the point that for those of you who have not been there before, but have this image of New York City as this like gruff, dangerous, mean place, it's not any more than any other city. The only reason that New York City,
the rats apparently very
the rats
big,
love
though.
pizza.
Yeah.
The only reason that New York City gets a reputation of being filled with a-holes is that there are 32 million people crammed onto a 1 mile long island, and they all have to live on top of each other.
So Mets fans aren't jerks?
No, Mets fans are jerks too. I hate the Mets.
Oh, okay.
I despise the Mets. Now, the Mets, I have a little bit more of a reason because they share the NL East with the Atlanta Braves, and they have been a divisional rival of ours for years and years and years. And with great regularity, do we knock each other out of playoff spots and opportunities to win the division, win the playoffs, win the World Series, whatever. So I despise the Mets as well for many of the same reasons. I just also am a divisional rival with that team. New York has this reputation of being a place filled with absolute a-holes. And it is. But at the same time, I have never gone to New York and had a problem except with Yankees fans. Honestly, I go to New York and here is what I recognized, the first or second time since I moved here, I went up there and recognized that, of course, these people are short on patience. There are 32 million. I don't know what the actual number is. It's a lot of them. But there's a lot of people crammed onto a 1 mile long and 700-yard wide island. They all live on that island, and they all have to live their entire lives on that island. And of course, New York City being arguably the most famous city on the face of the earth, New York City is constantly jam-packed with tourists. And what ends up happening there is these tourists are doing the tourist thing. They're walking slow along the sidewalk, and they're looking up at the buildings, and they don't look at the people around them, and they just stop and stand, and they're taking pictures in the middle. The last time we went, 2 times ago we went, was when I proposed to and got engaged to my now wife. So we left the hotel. I had set reservations at a rooftop restaurant with a very romantic backdrop looking back towards the Manhattan skyline, the Empire State Building, et cetera, with the plan of I was going to propose. Her best friend had snuck into the restaurant and was going to take a picture from inside the restaurant looking out at the skyline. So the reservation I had set at the restaurant was like, your time is 10 a.m. If you are not in the building by 10:05, your reservation is canceled. Like, we are busy. If your reservation's at 10, your reservation ends at 10:05 if you're not there. So I can't obviously tell her it's a surprise. I can't tell her, hey, you need to be ready to leave the hotel room. This reservation is importante. I gave her we have to be in that building at 10 o'clock. If we are there after 10:04, 59 seconds, we lose this reservation. And she's like, okay, well, there's 100 restaurants in New York City. We'll just find. No. I want to go to this one. All right, get in the Uber. We got to go. So we get there, and we have effectively 4 minutes to make a 4-minute walk to be there on time for the reservation. We get out of the Uber because it's like down a, not really like an alley, but kind of like a smaller road it was one way through. And so we pop out of the Uber, and we have 4 minutes to make a 4-minute walk to the restaurant from where the Uber had to drop us off as close as it could get us. And as we're walking down the sidewalk, we end up on the sidewalk behind a family of 4 walking shoulder to shoulder across the entire sidewalk, right? Like 4 people shoulder to shoulder to shoulder. And they're just strolling on like a leisurely Sunday Southern afternoon, just taking their time. And so we're like, the wife and I are trying to go around these people. Cause you know me, I am not a confrontational dude. Hell, I wish I was. I don't got that dog in me. So we're like trying to but there's cars coming the other way. So we can't go that way. So we have to stay. And after like, I don't know, a block or 2, I'm like, respectfully, can you guys get out of the way? Like, it is the meanest I've ever been to a stranger in my life. I was like, respectfully, can you guys get out of the way? And they turn around and they're like, pardon me? I'm like, can you get out of the way? You're shoulder width across the sidewalk. We've got to go. We're in a hurry. And that was the moment, because we walked through and the wife's like, oh, are you like, is the New York rubbing off on you? And that was the moment I realized I get why New Yorkers kind of have that gruff mentality, because they have to deal with that every damn day of their lives. Now, in fairness, it's their choice to live there, but like, that is still their reality, right? So that was the moment I realized it. But there is a difference between I'm kind of gruff and not super personal, because I live in this place where I've got to live and work and eat and play and just try to live a normal life. And I got to deal with that every day of it, on top of the fact that everybody lives 22 stacked high in every building. I get where that comes from. But there is an absolute difference between that and the way that Yankees fans are when the Yankees are playing, right? Like, there is a difference between, I get it, living in New York it's high pace, it's intense, whatever. And again, I love it. I've told the wife for years, if she ever divorces me, I'm moving to New York City. I'm living as close to downtown Manhattan as I am. I'm living next door to Madison Square Garden if I can make it happen. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. If she ever divorces me, I'm going to New York City. I would love to. She does not want to live in a big city. She has zero interest in it. I have always wanted to live in a big city. The reason we are staying in the house that we stay in, we need a bigger house. The reason we're staying in the house that we're staying in, A, the housing market sucks. Thanks, everybody, for that. And B, because it is our compromise. She wants to live further away. I wanted to live downtown Greenville, like dead center downtown. And so our compromise is we live about 5 minutes from downtown. It's close enough that I can pop in an Uber and be there in 5 minutes, yet it's far enough that like she doesn't have to deal with the traffic and the chaos and all that. It's compromise. I get it. I love New York City, but man, I was there. I think the first time we went was during baseball season and in the spring, like early baseball season. And there was a Yankee Day game the day that we were there. And she had something to do with her bestie who lives up there. And so I had basically a morning and an afternoon to just go do whatever I wanted to do in the city, which for me was I want to go see some historic sites because I'm a nerd, and I want to go see new Yankee Stadium. I can't go to the game because it was like at 2:30 or 3 in the afternoon, and she was going to be done at like 3. So it just didn't work out. It will next time. We're going to a Yankee game next time we're up there. It didn't work out, but I got to go down around Yankee Stadium. And I wasn't like, I don't even remember who they're playing. I wasn't like wearing the opposing gear or anything. I was just wearing like generic T-shirt A. And I was at a bar, and there were like a bunch of dudes in Yankees gear. And one of them was like, hey, Yankees fan. And he didn't say it like that. I'm obviously just making him a caricature of a New Yorker because it makes me laugh and I entertain myself. He's like, hey, you a Yankees fan, huh? And I was like, nah, I'm a Braves guy. And the first words out of his mouth were, hey, the Braves. And I'm like, dude, like we're not even in the same conference
Sounds
as you.
like most of the people you hang out with.
Hey, the Braves.
I don't know how to say different than your boys.
There is a difference where if you are my buddy, if you're my pal, and we're sitting around watching college football on Saturday and your team scores and I didn't need them to, want them to, it's one thing for me to be like, hey, the Buckeyes, because we're boys, because we're buds, because we're pals. That's different. This dude, the way he said it, it wasn't like a joking respectfully like, haha, you're the stranger in some weird parts here. This was straight up like, no, seriously, I hate your baseball team because they're not my baseball team.
Did you feel threatened, or was this guy automatically feeling comfortable with you like you're one of his friends?
No, this was not because, Lonzo, you know me. I am an introverted extrovert. If anyone approaches me and talks to me in public, we're best buddies. I can't approach other people and talk to them in public. But if somebody comes up to me and talks to me in public, we're best buddies. Immediately. Best friends. No problem. This guy walked up and dropped this on me, and it wasn't like a friendly, maybe like this is just how he talks to people, like we can be buds and talk ball. No. This guy didn't want me in the bar. This is a Yankees bar, bud. You're in New York. This is our city, huh? Why don't you get up? Why don't you go find a new bar? This ain't your bar. You understand? Point is,
why did you end up in Boston?
I don't know how I crossed the wires there. I don't know how I crossed the streams on that one. That one's my bad. Point here is, I despise Yankees fans. And on top of that, can we keep it a buck for the biggest reason of all? It's the biggest bandwagon team in America. It's the Cowboys, it's the Lakers, it's the Yankees, and it's Notre Dame. Those are the bandwagon teams. And I do not have, and let me be real clear, I have zero respect for bandwagon fans. None, not a 9-0. I have zero respect for bandwagon fans. I probably wouldn't have felt that way for a very long time, but 2009, my beloved New Orleans Saints, who I had suffered being a Saints fan my entire life up until that point, finally won the Super Bowl. And wouldn't you know it, as a student at the University of West Florida, go Argos, I showed up to campus on that Monday for class, decked out Saints gear head to toe. And wouldn't you know it, as I look around campus, all of the sudden, oh my gosh, there's Saints fans everywhere. And I'm like, no, screw you guys. You didn't earn this. You didn't earn this.
So suddenly you considered yourself an arbiter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. For this.
Mm-hmm.
Bandwagon fans do not understand fandom because you don't stick around for when it sucks to be a fan of that team. And there's a time for even the best teams. There's a time when it sucks to be a fan. Patriots fans had 20 years of being kick-ass at everything, and now they had to go through 4 or 5 years of everything sucking. If you knew a Patriots fan when Brady was there, and now all of a sudden they're rocking Eagles gear, screw that guy. I despise that guy as a fan, not as a person. Probably a great guy. But like, if you don't ride it out for the bad, I don't have any respect for you. I do have respect for Yankees fans. Like, they're never going to bandwagon hop. But the ones who do, the bandwagon fans, tick me off a little bit. All right, I don't even know how we got here. Whatever. We're having fun. It's Friday. Not yet.
It's not Friday.
It was wishful thinking. Hey, let's talk some football. Rob Alonzo, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
Real sports talk, real sports fans.
The Fan Upstate
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate fan. Call 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663.
The Fan!
Upstate.
From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Weather Center, here's the
turned
Carolina
mine
Coastal forecast on the fan.
It's the first thing I do.
Sunshine tonight.
You, did,
good morning.
you didn't know it was still on.
Kane and Jimmy. You are correct, Kane. You are correct. I will tell you this. This is also true. I probably should have said this on the air.
Sunny with a high of 74 throughout Saturday.
I will go to
Clear Saturday
50
night.
Yankees games before I go to a Phillies.
Foster on the fan upstate.
Phillies
Currently
fans will
62
punch you.
degrees.
Yankees fans just say a bunch of mean stuff. Phillies fans will fight you and get you
Injured?
thrown in jail.
Just call Joy Law
They-
Firm.
you are correct. That's a good call.
864-888.
Be right back. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate, the most electrifying hours of sports talk entertainment you are going to find anywhere on the radio program. We have talked a lot, as has everybody with a microphone and any connection to sports at all. We have talked a lot about Bill Belichick. Now, the hoodie and the UNC Tar Heels came up in conversation a little bit earlier this week. Yesterday, as a matter of fact, which technically was earlier this week. They came up because it was announced that the University of North Carolina was pulling the plug on a documentary about this season that they had partnered with Hulu. We don't have to get into the entire backstory, but the long story short was Hard Knocks was not going to do the NFL. So Hard Knocks decided that they were going to follow Bill Belichick to North Carolina. And then after he arrived at North Carolina, somebody, not saying who, somebody pulled the plug on working with Hard Knocks and decided they would do their own documentary. They partnered with Hulu for the distribution. And obviously, up until earlier this week, it didn't really look like it was going to be a documentary that was going to have much meat to it other than this team stinks. They look poorly coached. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but they look poorly coached. From anybody watching this team play who knows ball, they just look poorly coached. So we also got a story that same day, and you have to imagine that these two things is that they are connected. We got a story that North Carolina had to send a memo of sorts to North Carolina football players telling them, hey, guys, you can't sell your tickets to these games. Can't do it. That is an NCAA infraction. You are putting your eligibility on the line. Now, is that like a huge controversy? Yeah, I guess it depends on how seriously you take the rules. But it was big enough that it felt like those two things had to be connected to me. Well, after we got off the air yesterday, chaos reigned supreme in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I want to start with a news piece that was done by a reporter by the name of Pat Welter. Pat Welter is a sports reporter at WRAL in Raleigh, North Carolina. They cover North Carolina sports. Before I play this for you, I want to say, as an answer to a question that will inevitably be asked by some of you after the piece is over. Rob, how do we know that this isn't just a hit piece? The answer is because a guy who is a sports reporter at a TV station in a place like Raleigh, if he puts out a story that has the weight of the sound clip I'm about to play for you, and it is in any way, shape, or form proven false. Tough to do it because it's a bunch of abstract claims. But if it is either A, proven false, or B, if he can't come with receipts, these are the type of jobs that either get you fired or immediately get you promoted to the top levels of ESPN as a hot take artist. It's one of the two. Either way, not great to me. Here's the news piece that Pat Welter put together about what is happening currently in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah, Amir, there's no culture, no organization. It is a complete disaster. Those are the kind of quotes I'm getting from sources with firsthand knowledge of the inner workings of Bill Belichick's football program. So we talked to players, parents, members of the coaching staff, the board of trustees, and the athletic department to try to paint a complete picture of what's going on behind the scenes here. According to sources, a divide formed naturally when Belichick was hired. Background players versus the transfers. The way Belichick has run the program hasn't bridged the gap. It's only made it grow. According to multiple sources, UNC has a divided locker room, a disorganized staff, and an overall failure to communicate. A divide is natural when you have Mac Brown-era players and the 70 new ones Belichick brought in. But according to sources, preferential treatment and a lack of leadership has added to the discontent. One source said they don't fault the players. They fault the leadership that created this toxic environment. There's an individualistic mindset. Here are the example sources shared with us. Some players and their parents have better parking and stadium access on game days. Players who miss class and meetings aren't being held accountable. Players are selling their spare game tickets rather than sharing them with teammates. The non-travel roster players don't get to dress for home games, something you might see from an NFL practice player, but not in college football, adding to an overall lack of unity within the team. Parents say they have zero communication with coaches and were asked not to approach Bill Belichick, a stark contrast from the open door approach of Mac Brown. One source said the lack of experience the coaches have is ridiculous. Belichick himself has been praised by multiple sources for his one-on-one coaching. It's his ability to run the program that's being questioned by parents and players. One source said, Bill shuts people out. He's limited in what he says. Chancellor Lee Roberts preached patience when discussing Belichick at a board of trustees meeting last week. Even after the Clemson loss, the feeling within the UNC athletic department remains the same. Given the investment they've made, patience is the path, but they also understand that they hired Belichick knowing he didn't have college experience. They would like to help support Belichick and the players. Belichick needs to be willing to receive it at the same time. Overall, the feeling from sources is that the little points of division have become big, and you're seeing it now on the field. You don't need anonymous sources to tell you there's no energy, very little communication on the sidelines, so you can see it with your own eyes. We've reached out to Belichick's PR staff. They chose not to comment.
So here's why that is a conversation.
If you didn't tell me it was someone else, I would have thought that was Gronk.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I definitely heard Gronk in there.
So the reason that this popped up yesterday, and the reason that I'm not going to say Pat wasn't working on this story before the news. In fact, I'm going to say that he was not, because this, if he was having conversations with boosters, people inside the athletic department, people inside the football program, and parents of players. That's not something you knock out in a day or two. That's something that you're working on for a handful of days at the minimum, this entire week at the minimum. The rumor mill started cranking up yesterday after a report by Andrew Jones of 24/7 Sports that North Carolina has begun having, not that they are engaging, not that they are pushing a pedal to the metal on, they are having a conversation about exit strategies for Bill Belichick. It does not mean that Bill Belichick will be fired. It does not mean that Bill Belichick will step away. It does not mean that anything is going to happen. Just that right now, the reports are, call them rumors if you wish, but again, people are starting to tag their name onto this, that North Carolina and the Hoodie are at least having preliminary conversations about an exit strategy for Bill Belichick with a goal of eliminating or minimizing the buyout that would be owed to Bill Belichick. According to those same reports, Andrew Jones said, citing an anonymous source, that, quote, there are many other violations that have occurred, many on the recruiting front, end quote. There is a conversation happening right now. And Andrew Jones said in the article he posted for 24/7 Sports, which is a relatively respected college football coverage network, that there is a decent chance that Bill Belichick is not the head coach for the next North Carolina game, which is 9 days away from now. They are on the bye this week. There are conversations that Bill may not be under the headset for the Cal game, which is on October 17th. So, 16 days. It's next Friday, not Saturday. So, with that being said, this whole thing has gone from something. Let me put it this way. I opened the show this morning with Yankees lose. And I said it was because even if it is in good nature, and sometimes it's not, there are some teams that I take pleasure in their sadness. But it's are. I'm a hater, man. I'm a hater, man. I enjoy when the New York Yankees are a bad baseball team because I'm a lifelong baseball fan and I've put up with Yankees fans the entire time. Same with the Dallas Cowboys. I enjoy their suffering to some degree because I've been around the bandwagon Cowboys fans and I know it makes them sad and that makes me happy because, again, haters, man. I don't feel that way about North Carolina. I like North Carolina. The people that are UNC fan and alums that I have been around throughout the course of my career have all been very pleasant. And on top of that, as somebody who thinks it is good for college football if the Atlantic Coast Conference is a good football conference, this team a few years ago very much felt like they were trending upwards in there and what they were capable of. In the Drake May, Omarion Hampton era, it felt like North Carolina was, hey, maybe they can snag a player or two here or there. I'll put it this way. While they are not as good as them, the situation in the ACC for North Carolina felt very similar to the situation for South Carolina in the SEC. A team that has kind of floated around the middle of the conference, sometimes up a little, sometimes down a little, always kind of hanging out as just one of those teams that the best teams look at as an automatic win, and the teams in the middle look at it as a fight. North Carolina's kind of been that, but it felt like they were on the upward trajectory. And then they go get Bill Belichick, a decision that I didn't understand at the time, a decision that always felt like it was going to go this direction, a decision that you go, I understand you want to make North Carolina the 33rd NFL team, but it's not. It's not. That's a bad philosophy. It's not. It's not an NFL team. You can't run it as an NFL team. It's college football. It is entirely different than the NFL. So to bring an NFL mentality to not the NFL, you're going to get cooked, man. You're going to get cooked. Just like the majority, not all, but the overwhelming majority of college coaches who jump to the NFL fail. Why? Because they're different games. And if you bring a college mentality to the NFL, with very rare exceptions, you're going to fail. Nick Saban got it handed to him at Miami. I mean, outside of Pete Carroll, like what other college coaches were not just lasted, were successful? Urban Meyer, one of the best to ever do it under the headset in college, had the most hilariously awful run as the head coach of the Jags. Didn't even make it a season. And that's why I told somebody yesterday, doesn't it kind of feel like Bill Belichick is the Urban Meyer of college football right now? Think about it. A guy who was one of the best at the level he previously coached at, a guy who let that go to his head and believed that, a guy who jumped to the other level, did not have any understanding of what was happening, and a guy who was undone because he's put his hands in the pants of a girl way younger than him. He's Urban Meyer of college football, man. That's what he is. And it sucks because he ruined the momentum UNC built up. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
The Fan Upstate on Odyssey, TuneIn, and now suited up on the iHeartRadio app. Wherever you listen, we bring the game.
I'm Chuck Sanders. Here's the Sports Flash presented by Progressive. The Braves continue to work on selecting a new manager for next season. David Ross, Mark DeRosa, Walt Weiss, and Eddie Perez, all considered favorites to succeed Brian Snitker. NASCAR Cup Series playoffs this Sunday at Vegas. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, William Byron, the top four in the round of 8. Panthers host the Cowboys.
All right.
1 o'clock kickoff at Charlotte this Sunday. Carolina's 2-3. Both of their wins have come
Garrett
home.
Riley
On
to
Wednesday's
UNC.
injury report, Chuba Hubbard and Taylor Moton
Are the
sat
Clemson
out.
fans going to help
with a
Garrett
calf
Riley get a
injury,
new job?
Moton with an elbow injury. Kershawn Wharton out, the defensive tackle still dealing with a toe injury.
RB
Cornerback
dudes.
Caleb Evans.
Rise and shine, sports fans. Let's drink! Grab your coffee and get a jolt of sports on the Rob Brown Show with Lonzo. Now, weekday morning 6 to 10 on the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great Malonzo. You, 844-326-3663 is the number. 844-FANFONE. So, the Bill Belichick thing, we kind of got into it a little bit in the last segment. Effectively, reports out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, are that not only is the program a mess right now, but that now the folks in positions of power in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, are having conversations about how to get out of the contract with Bill Belichick and to minimize the buyout that would be owed to him. There was a report attached to that one that said one of the discussions being had is from Bill's end. Bill Belichick effectively telling North Carolina that if he can land another coaching job, or if he can find a landing spot somewhere in the media, that he would either reduce the contract or there is a $1 million buyout from Bill Belichick that would be owed to North Carolina if he was to leave as a decision that he made. And apparently, Bill Belichick, I don't want to say apparently, it is being reported that Bill Belichick has spoken to North Carolina and said, if I can get another job, either coaching somewhere else or within the media, I will pay you the $1 million to get out of the contract just so we are done with it all. Or perhaps maybe both sides just wash their hands, split cleanly, strike the contract mutually, and he moves on. I don't know how it ends. I just know that at this point, we're closer to the end of the experiment than we are at the beginning. And I'll give you one more thought that I have. I think that this is going to be what we in the business would call a teachable moment for a lot of us. And here's the teachable moment that I think is going to come out of this. And I will say that it is a teachable moment based on speculation by me and maybe nobody else. I don't know. It is speculation. It is subjective speculation. You may disagree with it. I have no way to prove that my theory is correct. But against my greater philosophical principles, I think I'm right anyway, with no evidence to back it up other than my own speculation. I think that Bill Belichick at North Carolina is going to become a lesson for a lot of people about two things. The first is that while the phrase is all publicity is good publicity, bad publicity is good publicity. That is something people in my industry are told from the day you get into it. That is why so many people with my job are willing to lie about things in order to drum up controversy. Now, that is a societal problem because we engage with those people and celebrate with those people, but that's a different conversation for a different segment. I think North Carolina, or at least I hope North Carolina, will have learned a lesson that sacrificing any forward momentum you had for your football program in order to get attention, which I agree in the world of college football in the year 2025 is massively important. And that's not just true about college football. That's true about anything that you need people to give you money for any reason. Brand awareness. There are people who are making a bleep load of money because they have figured out how to maximize brand awareness. A lot of different strategies to do it. But if you can figure out how you can get somebody's logo, name, business out in front of the most people possible, you can get paid a lot of money for doing that. I have, to some degree, done that in my career. It's part of the job that I have here. In fact, there are some folks above me who sign paychecks who would tell you it is the most important job that I have here. I think that North Carolina is going through a teachable moment right now. That, yes, brand awareness in college football in 2025 is mucho importante. And I think you can see a lot of schools who are very aware of that. Even when Nick Saban's entire MO and approach at Alabama was no nonsense, as I called it back in my media days, joyless murder ball. You don't have fun watching Alabama play football. They find their fun in the winning, not entertaining you as a non-Alabama fan. They entertain themselves by getting trophies. But even then, Nick Saban was showing up at every booster event he could show up to. Granted, he did it with that Nick Saban personality. But he did it. He was there. He was shaking hands. And he was making Bama fans feel like they were the most important Bama fans in the world that night, so they would give him more money. Brand awareness. Kirby Smart at Georgia, same thing. Always protecting the brand. However, you still got to have a brand to protect, right? Like, it's one thing if you put out the greatest commercial in the world for your new gadget, or gizmo. But if you go sell those gadgets, and gizmos to the general public and they suck and the product is bad, all of the greatest marketing ideas on the planet won't save you. You still have to put down a good product. And I think North Carolina is not only learning that lesson, but I think they are teaching the rest of the college football landscape right now. Not all PR is good PR. If you sacrifice the integrity of the football program in the name of PR, if you take away from the potential success of the football program in the name of attention, you will suffer for it. Because while kids are going to want to go play for a school that has that image of fun, entertaining, money-making, etc., do you know what will drive a kid away from a football program faster than anything else? You suck! If you suck, they don't want to play there. If you suck, this is the rich get richer philosophy in football. Why do you think for so long Alabama and Georgia were able to stack NFL draft picks 2 or 3 deep across their entire roster? Because they kicked everybody's ass. And kids are willing to sacrifice a lot more if they know that they are going to kick a lot more ass than they have their asses kicked. North Carolina's getting it handed to them by everybody right now. So, do you think that kids are going to show up because you got UNC's logo plastered on the top headline story of every sports center if A, those stories are bad, and B, your team sucks? No. And then there's the other lesson, the other teachable moment that I think comes out of this. Now, this one is the one that I think is more based on speculation from me, subjective thought, a belief that, if we were talking about science or politics or whatever, I'd be mad at me for holding because I don't have any evidence to hang on to. But we're talking about football, so shut up. I don't care. I believe that the teachable moment from Bill to all of us right now is a lesson in humility, is a lesson in being humble. And here's why I believe that. Because I genuinely believe that Bill Belichick bought into the headlines, bought into the hype that he's the greatest to ever don a headset. I think he believes that he's the greatest football coach of all time. I think he bought into that. And I think what happened is Bill Belichick, because of that at New England, Tom Brady leaves. Things do not go well for the hoodie at New England. And instead of being willing to say, okay, Brady's gone, we need to adapt this football team to whatever is the post-Tom Brady era. He did. He kept doing the same things, the same way he did them before, except he didn't have 12 there at that point, and it went real bad. And then when Bob Kraft started calling him on the carpet for some accountability for the fact that the Patriots nosedived after Tom Brady left, Bill Belichick just was Bill Belichick. Just was not going to have a conversation, was not going to talk about it. And I think it soured the relationship with Bob Kraft. And then I think that Bill Belichick, who you will all remember that last offseason, Bill Belichick was out there trying to get another job in the NFL. And there were a few head coaching positions open. And every one of them passed on Bill Belichick. Atlanta passed on the hoodie. New Orleans passed on the hoodie. Hell, New England passed on the hoodie. Everybody passed on the hoodie in the NFL. I believe that is because it got to the point that Bill Belichick's big old head, I'm the greatest to ever do it, created a world where franchises went, we can't replicate what the Patriots did. We cannot replicate Bill Belichick and Tom Brady with just Bill Belichick. And if he is not willing to work hand in hand with everybody else in the building, there's no way that he's going to be successful. The Atlanta Falcons passed on Bill Belichick and decided to rehire a coach that was already a coach there once before on an interim level. And it was like, it went okay. That's the guy they passed over the hoodie for. So I think Bill Belichick was effectively, A, just trying to get a job, and B, I think he was trying to bluff the NFL. If you guys won't hire me, I will go somewhere else. If you guys won't hire me, I will take the aura of the hoodie to college football. And hey, I'm Bill Belichick. I'm going to be successful. So Bill says, I'm going to make North Carolina the 33rd NFL team. Do you think that with names like Lanning and Day and Smart and Sweeney and all these other coaches, Sarkisian, that are successful at the college level, and not one of them tries to run a team like an NFL franchise? Not a one of them. Now, you can make the argument, they kind of are. Most of them have general managers now, but let's be real. What is a general manager doing in college football? He is just doing things that head coaches and recruiting coordinators used to do and kind of creating an office that is centralized for that. That's what a GM is doing right now. It's not any different. It's not any different. It's just they centralized a lot of the activities into one office. So North Carolina goes and gets Bill because, hey, we'll be the 33rd NFL franchise. There is a reason that no other school, NIL in the portal, I've been in play, 4 years now? There is a reason no other school has said that or tried to do that, because it will not work with a different game, with a different sport. It can't. It won't. If I tried to do, I've always said the Rob Brown Show is a general sports show, right? Like, we're going to hit all the sports. I got baseball for you coming up later in the show. I got some hockey for you. Carolina Hurricanes get their first game underway tonight at 7:30 against the Jersey Devils. I got NASCAR for you. But I still cover those sports from a local perspective. If I came in here and did this show like a national show, it would fail in this market. And if I was to get the call up to a national show and I hosted it like a local show, it would fail, and I would do it one time and I would be done. They're different games. It's the same game, but it's a different version of it. I think Bill Belichick bought into the hype that he's the GOAT. I think he got passed up on by everybody else in the NFL. Nobody wanted him after the way that he exited with a sour relationship from New England. I think once he exited, he thought he was going to bluff his way back into the NFL. I'll leave. You'll lose the greatest. You'll lose 6 Super Bowl rings on one hand. 2 hands. You get it. If I go back to college ball.
Is this Bill Belichick, the 6-fingered man?
I mean, maybe he wears 2 on one finger.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. I don't know how. If I had 6, I'd wear them all kinds of different ways. I'd make 2 into earrings. Who knows, right? So I think he tried to bluff his way. Nobody was willing to respond to the bluff. They called it. He had to go somewhere. Then he goes to North Carolina, and he thinks the hoodie way will work. Well, anybody who's paid attention said, no, it won't. No, it won't. That's why this is college football. That's why nobody else is doing it. So we got there.
So you believe that he won't make it an entire season?
No, I don't. I think he's done before the season's over. In fact, I will go one step further. I'm not going to call it like Andrew Jones did from 24/7 Sports and said that he won't be the head coach next Friday night when they play Cal. But if they lose to Cal, and I'll keep it a buck right now today, I think they will. Cal's not a good football team. If they lose to Cal, I do not think that Hoodie is the coach the week after that. I will say, I do not think he's making it to the end of the season. Bubba Cunningham and all these guys in the AD's office can come out and they can crow till the sun comes up. We trust the process. We believe in what we're trying to build here. We're this, we're that. That's a hell of a lot of smoke for there to be no fire. And the football team is embarrassing to the point that it is damaging whatever reputation you were able to build with Matt Brown and Amari Hampton and Drake May. You are damaging the reputation in a way that if you then fire the coach, and oh, by the way, who the hell wants to come here? You got 70 transfer portal guys who very clearly don't want to be there.
I'll believe he's gone when he's gone. I think he makes it 2 seasons. I just still believe that. Because he hasn't had a recruiting class yet, and they will factor into that he's had to build with what players were left over from a team that was
70 transfer players. Those are his guys.
How else was he going to do it? And again, we talked about this yesterday. You're not going to win bringing in 70 players who couldn't make it on another team. You're just not going to do it.
If you could not get, here's the part about the transfer players. Then I know we got to take a break where we're late, and I'll bring this question back up later. Their transfer portal class was not a bunch of guys who wanted to come play for Bill Belichick. It was just whoever they could get. That's still a problem. That's still a problem. All right, we'll talk more about this later because I do think it is easy.
Just not have anybody on the team.
We're going to come back to this later on because I do think there is more to this conversation. But everything happening in Chapel Hill right now is because of Bill, in my opinion. We'll circle back around to this. Let's get to a sports flash.
In the MLB playoffs, the Mariners and Tigers will play an elimination game Friday after Detroit tied the series at 2 with a 9-3 win yesterday. The Tigers scored multiple runs on 4 of the 5 pitchers Seattle used. Chicago Cubs fought off elimination with a 4-3 win over Milwaukee yesterday. Jameson Taillon gave up 2 runs in 4 innings, but 5 other Cubs pitchers surrendered just 1. Chicago had 8 hits, including a Michael Busch homer that started a 4-run first inning. The Blue Jays are on to the ALCS with a 5-2 win to eliminate the Yankees. The Jays had a dozen hits, including 4 doubles. New York went just 6 of 32 with only Aaron Judge recording multiple hits. And the Phillies avoided a sweep, knocking off the Dodgers 8-2 in LA. Aaron Nola went 2 innings before giving way to 5 innings from Ranger Suarez.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. I noticed a small stretch of road with sluggish speed southbound 85 at 29 Greenville Highway, so I went over and checked it out. Couldn't find a why cause. So other than that, traffic across Greenville and Spartanburg counties is very light so far this Thursday morning, but you can surely expect I-85 to slow down within the hour, both directions, approaching Pelham Road. From the news.
Paladins football. Every play, every game. Touchdown Paladins! All season. The Fan Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg. And on the Odyssey app. The Paladins play only on the Fan Upstate.
Hi, world. Let's break.
WFBC HD3 Greenville. W249EL Greenville. W246CD Spartanburg. W2CXDL Anderson. The official sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan. The Fan. And Odyssey Sports Station.
Man, check this out.
Your unofficial Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Pal. Buddy. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, that's me. The great one, Lonzo, that is he. And we are glad to have you along for the ride this AM. What a day in sports we had yesterday. But I mean that. We had a little bit of everything. We had elimination games in Major League Baseball. The New York Yankees are on their way home after a loss at home to the Toronto Blue Jays, who win that series 3-1. We had elimination games in Los Angeles, California. I don't know why I'm telling you this. This is an item on the water cooler cheat sheet, but the Phillies are alive. The Cubbies are alive. And the Mariners and the Tigers of Detroit are headed to a Game 5. We're going to get to all of that coming up here in just a minute. Start setting you up for some elimination games coming up over the next 2 days. We have got WNBA Finals. I don't know if you know this. You know, one of the off-season conversations that we have annually when, you know, there's not football going on and I can only get you guys to hang out with me for so much baseball. One of the conversations we have every year, Lonzo can attest, is who's on the Mount Rushmore of South Carolina sports? Can I tell you who I think is about to make their way onto that Mount Rushmore of South Carolina sports? Can I tell you who I think is about to join that group? I don't know if I don't know if she's the first woman I would put on this Mount Rushmore of South Carolina sports, but I'm having a hard time coming up with anybody else who would. Dawn Staley, but she was born in Philly. I don't know if you guys, when you do this conversation, make the rules. They have to have been born in and come from South Carolina. Asia Wilson is kicking down the door to jump onto the Mount Rushmore of South Carolina sports. 34 points last night as the Las Vegas Aces and their four-time WNBA MVP. And I would argue already today, right now, the greatest WNBA finals performer of all time. Asia Wilson had 34 last night, and the Aces have now pushed the Mercury to the brink of elimination. We had day 2 of the opening weekend of the National Hockey League. We had a pair of college football games and all the Bill Belichickian drama coming out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Yesterday was a spectacular day in the landscape of sports. And that's good news and bad news. It's bad news because I really did have a hard time figuring out which of these stories goes in our top 3 sports stories you have to know. I'm going to get there, I promise. The caffeine hasn't kicked in yet. Which of these sports stories are the top 3 sports stories?
You're just messing with me to see if I'll push the button too soon.
No, I'm genuinely not. I'm genuinely fighting for my life over here. The top 3 sports stories you have to know when we do this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers say,
I'm not too old to find you, son.
Before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go.
Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Pal. Buddy. It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office and start killing time until we get football on TV tonight. We got some Thursday night football out of the National Football League. We got some college football taking place around the country. It's going to be a good night in the world of football. We're going to talk about this Thursday night game because this Thursday night game very interesting tonight. And I'll break that down a little later on in the show. But Let's go with item number 1. Major League Baseball had 4 games. All 4 divisional series contests were in action last night. We start in the ALDS. Game number 4, the series now tied at 2 apiece between Seattle and Detroit. Seattle had the Tigers on the brink of elimination, but Detroit's bats woke up right in time. A 9-3 win last night. Casey Mize went to the bump, 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, K'd 6 through 3 before the Tigers would turn to a quadrant of relief pitchers. Holton came in, faced a couple of batters, did not record an out before they gave way to Finnegan, Melton, and Vest. Melton would be credited with the win. 3 innings pitched, just 2 hits allowed, no runs. K'd 3, walked 1 in his 3 innings of work. But it was the Tigers from the dish that got it done. 13 hits in this game. Extra base hits from Jones, Perez, Dingler, and Torkelson, and big dongs from Javi Baez, Torres, and Riley Green. Those 3 swats got everything going. It was all Seattle out of the gate. You had Canzoni, you had Robles, and Raleigh all record RBIs in the 2nd, 4th, and 5th innings, respectively. That made it 3-0 Seattle. But then Detroit started absolutely parading around the bases. Raleigh singled to right. Arozarena scored. That made it 3-0 in the 5th. And then Detroit answered immediately back. Dingler doubled to left. McKinstry scored, made it 3-1. Jones doubled to left. Dingler scored, made it 3-2. Baez singled to left. Jones scored. That made it 3-3. We go to the 6th. Riley Green broke it open with a 454-foot big dong out to right center field, 4-3. McKinstry would RBI in Torkelson. Baez would then hit his home run in the bottom of the 6th, 7-3. Torres would then homer in the next inning, 344 to right. It's 8-3. Baez, then a fielder's choice RBI with McKinstry scoring, made it 9-3. And just like that, the Tigers and the Seattle Mariners have a showdown with elimination on the line. Winner goes on, loser goes to Cancun. And Tarek Skubal is on the bump. Now, in the middle of the regular season, that would have been sprint to the money line and throw everything you have on the Detroit Tigers because Tarek Skubal is the best pitcher in the American League. But here's why this one is now all of a sudden dramatically more interesting. Tarek Skubal has seen his Detroit Tigers lose 4 of the last 5 games that he has gone to the bump, including game 1 against Seattle, when he went up against these Mariners in this series, and the Mariners got the better of him in that contest. So, again, if this would have been July, easy pick for the Tigers over the Mariners with Tarek Skubal on the bump. But Skubal he's still been good, but for whatever reason, they're just not giving him the support when he's out there. The bats are alive now. Does that change the game? I don't know. The Cubs were able to stay alive with a 4-3 win over the Brew Crew of Milwaukee. Chicago sent out Jamison Talion, 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs allowed. The Cubbies would have to turn to 5 different relief pitchers to get through this game. Quentin Priester got to start for the Brewers. It was a bullpen game, so he was not expected to go super deep, but gave up 3 hits and 4 earned runs through just 2.2 innings. At the end of the day before they had to yank him up out of the ballgame. The Cubbies ended up with 8 hits on the night, including a Michael Busch dong in the first inning off of Priester that got the scoring started for Chicago. By the end of the first, it was 4-1 Cubbies. Milwaukee cut into the game a couple of times, or cut into the lead a couple of times in the game, but were unable to sustain a run at any point. Chicago is alive. Milwaukee leads the series 2-1. Toronto went ahead and eliminated the New York Yankees. New York, the first team, bounced from the divisional series, a 5-2 win for the Jays last night. The Jays had a bullpen game. They ended up having 8 different pitchers. Nobody went more than 1.1 innings, but here's my favorite number. Of the 8 pitchers that went to the bump for the Blue Jays last night, only 2 of them gave up a run, and only 1 of them gave up more than 2 hits during their time out there. New York would end the night with just 6 hits. McMahon did have a home run in the 3rd inning, but there wasn't much else damage. Only 1 Yankee had multiple hits. It was Aaron Judge, who had an RBI. He also K'd once. Aaron Judge batted .500 in these playoffs. Like, the Yankees can say whatever they want about Aaron Judge not being a playoff guy. He's the only one that was showing up consistently from the dish in this game. The Jays had a dozen hits yesterday, no home runs in this game. It is the first game in this series that Vladdy Guerrero did not go yad at some point, but they had a handful of doubles. 4 or 5 different guys had RBIs. The Jays were just a better baseball team, and they are on to the ALCS where they await the winner of Friday's Mariners-Tigers game. And then the Phillies stayed alive with an 8-2 win over the Dodgers in the nightcap last night. The Dodgers sent Yamamoto to the bump. 4 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. Cade just 2 did give up a home run to Kyle Schwarber. Don't worry about that. Schwarber had 2 Schwar bombs last night. Aaron Nola went to the plate. I said that I thought this game might be contingent on Aaron Nola. I needed Aaron Nola to at least keep up with Yoshinobu Yamamoto last night. Aaron Nola only went 2 innings, but he got 3 strikeouts. He gave up just 1 hit, no runs allowed through 31 pitches before they turned to Ranger Suarez. That was I thought a strategic move from Rob. They brought in Suarez, who is a starter, a guy that may or may not have been big if they could make it to Game 5 by winning 3 and 4, both on the road. And the road team has won all 3 games in this series so far. But it's do or die. If you're on the threat of elimination, you just have to do whatever it takes to do to survive tonight, and we'll worry about tomorrow. Suarez comes out 5 innings, 5 hits, just 1 run allowed. Cade 4. The Phillies, 12 hits last night. JT Realmuto had an 8th inning ding off of Clayton Kershaw. Schwarber, as I mentioned, had 2, 1 in the 4th inning off of Yamamoto. He also went yard against Clayton Kershaw. I really did feel bad for Clayton Kershaw last night. Went 2 innings, pitched the 7th and the 8th. And in the 8th inning, got shelled. 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned, and ended up Kang, I think, actually, I don't think he recorded a strikeout across 2 innings. Yamamoto was still tagged with the L because he gave up the 3 runs early. But Kershaw, after the elation of his final regular season game a week and a half ago, got absolutely tanked last night. And it was kind of a bummer, to be honest with you. So here's what we got set up for you in MLB playoffs moving forward. We have got, as we mentioned, on Friday night, we have got our final matchup between Detroit and Seattle coming up today. Both games are elimination games. Philly and LA at 6:08 this afternoon. Philly wins. We move to a Game 5. LA wins. It is over. And then Game 4 in the NLDS. Milwaukee at Chicago. That one starts at 9:08 p.m. this evening. Milwaukee wins and Chicago is eliminated. The Cubbies win, and we head back to Milwaukee for a game number 5. Let's get to item number 2. How much do you get into the drama of other teams? I'm not talking about the on-the-field stuff. How much do you get into the drama at other schools? I am talking about when there is a fight between coaches, or when a player is acting up and gets in trouble, or the overall vibe of the locker room is bad, or when a head coach is into it with his athletic director / president, et cetera, et cetera. How interested are you in that when it is at another school, maybe even a school you don't really have a connection to? The reason I ask is because I don't really have a connection to North Carolina. I've got a bunch of friends that went there or grew up fans, many of them because they grew up during the Michael Jordan days, and Jordan was a UNC guy, and that was their connection, but they've been around since then. I know a lot of friends who are North Carolina people, alumni, fans, whatever. And I got to tell you, I like them all. I've never had an issue with North Carolina, but I don't really have a connection to North Carolina other than they're in the ACC with Clemson, right? Like, that's pretty much it. The only other connection I think is, I think North Carolina when playoff expansion conference expansion happens again, I think North Carolina is probably considered a valuable asset by the SEC and the Big Ten, and so they will be a bargaining chip. But, like, no direct athletic competition. And yet, I find myself wildly fascinated by what is happening right now around Bill Belichick and this Tar Heel program. Now, it was pointed out to me earlier in the show by a dear friend of mine, and I would even be willing to say that Lonzo probably had this thought when we were talking about this story in the last hour too. But I got asked this morning by a friend of mine who was listening to the show, Rob Brown, are you rooting against Bill because you want Bill to lose? Are you rooting against Bill because you predicted that this would be an embarrassment And if it is an embarrassment, you look smart on the radio, or is there some other reason you're rooting against Bill? I want to be clear. I am not rooting against Bill Belichick. I don't have anything personal against Bill Belichick. There's nothing about him that I take. Would he and I be buddies? Probably not. Probably wouldn't be a beer buddy of mine, Bill Belichick. But I don't have anything against the guy. Like, I'm not mad at him that he coached the Patriots to 6 Super Bowls and dominated the NFL. I respect that. That's tough to do. Very rarely done. I got a lot of respect for Bill Belichick. I just think that North Carolina was a program that was teetering on the edge and was ready to take the next step. And this set them back to the bottom tier of the ACC. Not moved them from mid to top, moved them from mid to bottom. If you missed the story, we got into it. I won't spend a ton of time on it here because I still do have to get to item number 3. But a number of reports came out yesterday that Bill Belichick and North Carolina are engaged in negotiations to lower the coach's buyout after the dismal start to the tenure in Chapel Hill. That being said, shortly after those reports began to drop, Belichick and the school released a joint statement last night countering those claims. The statement from Bill Belichick said, quote, "I'm fully committed to UNC football and the program we are building here." Athletics director Bubba Cunningham added that Bill Belichick had the, quote, "full support," end quote, of the UNC administration. That being said, we played you the news segment earlier. WRAL, Pat Welter, put out a scathing report that said the locker room is split. Parents are starting to voice their frustration. Players are voicing their frustration. There is a litany of NCAA infractions and violations that have been taking place. Some have been reported. Some will be reported. Some haven't been reported and won't be. But there's a lot of problems in the locker room. I gave you my thoughts. I think it's a teachable moment. I think North Carolina is very much in the process right now of learning that not all PR is good PR. And you should not sacrifice the integrity of your football program in order to get them highlighted on ESPN. And number 2, I think it's a lesson in humility and hubris from Bill Belichick, because I think Hoodie thought he was going to show up, cut the arms off of a powder blue sweatshirt, was going to roll out there as the Hoodie, and everybody was just going to go, wow. And it turns out we are going, wow. Wow, that's really bad. That's not great. It looks just disjointed. It looks poorly coached. And I think Bill's learning a lesson in hubris if he's willing to learn the lesson. We'll find out. Let's get to item number 3. 90-88, the Las Vegas Aces knock off the Phoenix Mercury. They are now 1 game away from a complete sweep in the WNBA Finals. Now, I know that many of you don't care. Some of you are actively against me talking about the NBA, and I want you to know that respectfully, I don't care. I don't. I like it. I like the league. I've enjoyed the finals. It was on one of the TVs last night in the Bro Cave, and so will Friday night game number 4 be on the TV in the Bro Cave. It'll probably get the big TV on Friday night, to tell you the truth. But there is a reason that I bring this one up, and the reason is this. I think A'ja Wilson has put herself on the South Carolina sports Mount Rushmore. We have this conversation in the offseason all the time, and it's usually one of those kept strictly to the offseason conversations. You know, it's kind of a segment killer, right? Like, everybody has some opinions. It's great to get the phone calls going when there's not much going on else in the sports world and the majority of your audience only cares about football. It's a great conversation for the offseason, not one that is ordinarily going to make its way into football season. We've got a lot to talk about. Clemson, Boston College, South Carolina, LSU, Carolina, Dallas. We've also got hockey. So, like, there's a lot going on. I think the Mount Rushmore conversation is coming up now. And in the next segment, I'm going to get into this a little bit more deeper, because I think, especially you Lady Gamecock fans out there, you should be with me on this, and you should be screaming it from the rooftops. I think A'ja Wilson's on her way. If she is not already there, I think she deserves a spot on the South Carolina Mount Rushmore of sports. 34 points, 11 of 20 from the floor, 1 of 2 deep, 11 of 12 from the stripe, added 14 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks last night. A'ja Wilson put on a clinic of how to play basketball last night. I would go so far as to say I was watching this game texting with a dear friend of mine who is also a WNBA fan. She lives down in Florida, big basketball girl, and she loves the Dub. So we were texting back and forth during this game. And I said, not a joke, if I was coaching high school basketball, middle school basketball, whether it was girls or boys, I would pull the tape. I will pull the tape off of this game, and I would show A'ja Wilson playing basketball last night to men's high school basketball players and middle school basketball players. And I would say when you learn how to play basketball this way, when you learn how to play solid all-around basketball this way, then we'll start working on the fancy stuff. Then we'll start working on your oh my gosh, let's put it on the And One mixtape tour stuff. Not until you get this down. Asia Wilson played a basketball game last night that I think should be put on tape as this is how you do it. At its core, this is fundamentally how you play the game of basketball, and anything more athletic and OMG after that, that's icing on the cake. But if you can play basketball the way that Asia Wilson played basketball last night, you can play basketball at just about any level. I'll talk about Asia Wilson a little bit more when we come back here in just a moment from right now. We have plenty more to get to. We're going to talk about that. In the final segment of this hour, we will get into the 2 college football games that matter this weekend. South Carolina, LSU, Clemson against Boston College. 8 o'clock, Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News will join us. We'll get her thoughts on South Carolina's win and what they need to do if they want a shot at upsetting the Tigers down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. All that coming up as we roll on the show. Rob Brown, the Great Milonzo U. The Rob Brown Show is on The Fan Upstate.
That world.
All right, guys. Live read coming right back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. So that it is clear, and I say this with all the love and respect in the world, this segment is not a who would you put on the South Carolina Mount Rushmore of sports. That's an off-season conversation because it can chew up an entire show. That's not what I'm asking for here. Instead, what I would like to do is make the argument that no matter who you have on the South Carolina Mount Rushmore of sports right now, the argument is one of them needs to come off to make A'ja Wilson a member of that Mount Rushmore of sports. I do not think, and I'm saying it now, I don't think it is too early in her career to say A'ja Wilson might very well be the best women's basketball player of all time. She might be the very best. And there are a lot throughout the history of women's basketball that I love. Candace Parker is very high on that list for me. Diana Taurasi was playing women's basketball when I was in high school, and Diana Taurasi was a stone cold killer. She was, when she was in her prime, one of my favorite 4 or 5 basketball players to watch. She was a stone cold killer back in the day, and fantastic. We saw Caitlin Clark and what she did in college. Fantastic basketball player. But with everything that A'ja Wilson has accomplished, let me put it this way. This is not a good way to determine how good a player is, but it is an interesting way to form an argument. If you go to A'ja Wilson's Wikipedia page, on the Wikipedia page of every professional athlete, on the right-hand side, there is a box labeled career highlights. And that box of career highlights will have everything of note that a player has done in their career. And this will go all the way back for like NFL dudes. That box of accomplishments will say, 1997 Mr. South Carolina football. Like, it'll have everything. I'm looking at at A'ja Wilson's. On the top of my head, she is the only athlete that I think I have looked up on Wikipedia that I have to scroll multiple times to get to the bottom of her career accomplishments, career highlights page. I'm not going to read all of them, but here's a few. 2-time fixing to be 3-time WNBA champion. 1-time 2023 WNBA Finals MVP. She's about to add her second one there. 4-time WNBA MVP. 3-time WNBA Defensive Player of the Year. 7-time All-Star. 4-time All-Dub First Team. All-Dub Second Team in 2021. 4-time All-Dub First Defensive Team. 1-time All-Defensive Second Team. 2-time Dub Peak Performer. 2-time Scoring Champ. 5-time blocks leader, Commish Cup champion in 22, all rookie team in 2018, rookie of the year in 2018, 2-time best dub player in the ESPYs, 2024 best female athlete ESPY, 2017 national champion, 2017 tournament most outstanding player in college, 2018 AP player of the year, 2018 Honda Sports Award, 2018 Naismith College Player of the Year award winner, 2018 Wooden Award winner, 2018 Wade Trophy winner, 2018 WSBWA National Player of the Year, 2018 Lisa Leslie Award, 3-time All-American, 3-time First Team All-American, 3rd team All-American once, SEC Female Athlete of the Year in 2018, 3-time SEC Player of the Year, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time SEC Tournament MVP, 4-time All-SEC Team, 3-time All-Defensive Team, SEC Freshman Team in 2015, and Freshman of the Year. She had her her jersey retired by South Carolina. She was the 2014 Naismith Prep Player of the Year, the Max Preps National Player of the Year, a McDonald's All-American, a 3-time Team USA Female Athlete of the Year, a FIBA Women's Olympics MVP, a Women's World Cup MVP, a FIBA U19 World Cup MVP, a FIBA Under 18 Americas Championship MVP. That's all of it. Like, that's just all the things she could have won. All the things she could have won, she won. I challenge you to find me another athlete in the history of South Carolina sports. And this young lady was born right there in Columbia. That was her hometown club she played her college ball for. I challenge you to find me another athlete, any sport, any gender, any era, that has an accomplishment list like that. I challenge you. And oh, by the way, she's been in the dub 7 years now. And she is still the best player in it. She is outperforming everybody. Like, I'm at the point where I have been telling people, it is no secret nor surprise, and anybody who says the opposite is lying, that since Caitlin Clark went down a couple of months ago and was unable to return this season, including in the playoffs, and by the way, maybe look out for the Fever next year, because even without Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham and a number of other starters, they still made a run to the semifinals and put up a hell of a fight in the semifinals. But since Caitlin Clark went down, so did the ratings for the WNBA. Now, the good news, if you're a fan and want to see this league succeed, as I do, all right, it does not threaten you that this league succeeds. If you hate the league, cool, that's fine, whatever. It's your prerogative. But it doesn't threaten you that it exists and it succeeds. It's not going to take away from other basketball. So, as somebody who wants to see the league succeed, whenever I have heard, and it's not been very often, but it has happened a few times, whenever I have heard people say, I tuned out of the WNBA because Caitlin Clark is out. And if Caitlin Clark's not out there, there's not a reason for me to watch. There are a few reasons for you to watch. Paige Beckers is one of those reasons. She has been spectacular as a rookie for Dallas, and I think she's going to keep getting better as long as she stays healthy. There are plenty of other reasons to watch, but the reason to watch right now is A'ja Wilson. I would say, not only do I think that there is not another player or athlete in another sport that is as much the reason to watch the sport as an individual, right? Like, if I'm trying to talk you into watching the dub, watch A'ja Wilson play is my go-to argument. Then I would say watch the Las Vegas Aces play, because that's a damn good basketball team. But watch A'ja Wilson play. I am ready to. And I thought about this, I need you to know, a lot last night, because this is something that I know I'm going to be labeled as a hot take artist, and I'm good with it. I'm ready for it. Bring it to me. Here's the take I think I would be labeled as a hot take artist, but I sat on this last night, and I'm willing to go to bat for it. When she's done, when it's over, A'ja Wilson's going to be considered the Michael Jordan of women's basketball. She is that much separated from everybody else. And y'all, I was watching in the Candace Parker era. I was watching in the Diana Taurasi area. I've been watching through the eras of the WNBA. Cheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, Dawn Staley. I've been watching the entire run, some years more intently than others. But I am telling you right now, because I don't think she's anywhere near done winning MVPs, winning championships, winning Defensive Player of the Year awards. I don't think she's done with it. All of the things that we have said about Mike that make him the GOAT, you can and will say about A'ja Wilson. She may not get 6 rings, but I think she'll get 4. I think she might get 5. It's a threat to get 6. I will tell you, she's got another couple of MVPs in her. She's got a bunch more Defensive Player of the Years in her. I think A'ja Wilson may finish her career as the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. And I think A'ja Wilson is the number one athlete when it comes to reasons to watch a sport. I will tell you right now, as much as I love Caitlin Clark, and I have been a supporter since her Hawkeye days at Iowa, as much as I love Caitlin Clark and enjoying watching Caitlin Clark play, A'ja Wilson's a more important and entertaining watch if you are a basketball fan, and I am. A'ja Wilson should have a spot carved out for her on the South Carolina Mount Rushmore of sports. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Those are all good suggestions, Steven. I think Michael Phelps was probably the only reason to have watched swimming, which is part of the reason that I said to watch a sport today. That being said, and I've pointed this out about Americans' lack of interest in international sports over the years.
on Sunday afternoon.
How many Michael
against the
Phelps
Cowboys.
races did
South
you
Carolina
watch
football coming off
that
the
were
bye
not
at number
Olympics
11
races?
LSU
The
this
answer is
Saturday.
zero.
Furman
Do not be a
Dallas are
liar.
on
The
road
answer
at
is zero.
Western Carolina.
Messi, I think you could say that, but I would make the argument that the entire run of Messi, while he was better than him, Cristiano Ronaldo was another huge reason to watch soccer. I don't think there's another player that's as dominant or as important to watch to the sport right now as Asia Wilson in the dub. Y'all stay right there. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is the Rod Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great with Lonzo, and you. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. I know that it is Thursday. I know that we still have a couple of days before South Carolina faces the LSU Fighting Tigers on the road down in Death Valley, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I know that we still have a couple of days before the Clemson Tigers play week number 2 consecutively on the road, this time at Boston College. However, I do not think it is too early to begin talking about these two particular footballing contests. And so the reason I give out the phone number, 844-326-3663, is because I would like to ask today, before we start taking your picks, projections, and prognostications tomorrow about the events of the weekend upcoming in college football, I would like to ask you not what do you think that we will see out of the Gamecocks and out of the Tigers on Saturday. I would like to ask you, what do you want to see out of the Gamecocks and out of the Tigers on Saturday? Now, obviously, as I've said, the run-up to this week, these two teams have had markedly similar starts to the season. I think it is fair to say that both teams are disappointed in the way that the season started. I think it's fair to say that both teams appear, though this is not for certain, for sure, but it would appear that both of these teams are probably, at this point, incapable of reaching their goals that they may have had at the beginning of the year. For instance, I think Clemson's was make the playoffs, probably get a bye, and participate in the national championship game. I think South Carolina's was, at least according to what y'all set them at preseason, I think South Carolina's was be alive for the SEC title hunt late in the year. Just be alive. Like, even if you need a couple of 3-4 games to break your way, be alive in the last couple of weeks of the season and put yourself in a spot where you have a very good argument with a very difficult schedule to grab either the 11th or the 12th playoff spot. Put yourself in a position, this was my goal, put yourself in a position where you can be the first 9-3 team to grab an at-large playoff spot. Because I do think that happens this year. And as I said, coming into the year, I think with the back half of the schedule set up the way that the back half of the schedule is set up, I think South Carolina and Oklahoma were the two teams that had the best opportunity to end up going 9-3 and make their way in. Now, I'm at a point where I don't think for a second Oklahoma is going 9-3. They still have a brutal back half of the schedule. But that's a really, really good football team, A. And B, it does appear that no fear John Mateer is on his way back, if not this weekend against Texas. Bad news for you, Gamecocks. Next week against you for certain. The guy that was clearly the front runner for the Heisman Trophy before he injured his hand and had to have surgery and miss a handful of weeks. So I thought just be in a position where 9-3 gives you an argument to be the first 9-3 team that is in. Now, I would like to say, of those goals between both teams, I think the only goal that is probably off the table is Clemson winning the ACC and getting a bye. Now, you are still mathematically alive in the Atlantic Coast Conference. However, you will obviously need a handful of games to break your way. You will need Miami to lose a couple of games. And by the way, Miami has now played the most difficult part of their schedule. I'm not saying that there's not a Mario Cristobal meltdown coming, but I entered this year with a flipped perspective on two head coaches, and I got them both wrong. So far, it's very early. The flip perspective was, I think James Franklin has crossed the bridge. I think it's a different Penn State this year. I was dead ass wrong about that.
You didn't make it across the bridge.
I made the rainbow bridge of coaching careers, if you know what I'm saying. I don't know that my perspective of Mario Cristobal is incorrect. I just know that we won't know until it happens. My thought on Mario Cristobal has been, historically, dating back to his time at Oregon and up until last year at Miami, it seems that there is an annual Mario Cristobal meltdown. There's an annual Mario meltdown where he screws up some pretty simplistic coaching decisions on the sidelines in Coral Gables, and specifically he, cost Miami a win. Happened against Georgia Tech last year. As we have said a few times, Clemson fans, I hope you send an edible arrangement to Brent Key and the Georgia Tech Rambling Wreck. Because had Miami not lost that game to Tech, they go to the ACC title game. They play SMU, in my opinion. And Clemson probably does not go to the playoffs last year. So I don't know that we won't have our annual Mario meltdown. What I do know is they had a chance to have the Mario meltdown in week 1 against Notre Dame. They didn't do it. They had the chance to have the Mario meltdown in week 2 against Texas A&M. They didn't do it. And they had a chance to have the Mario meltdown against Florida State last weekend. They were up big at the half. Florida State tried their best to barn burner their way back into it in the fourth quarter. They did get very close to doing so, but Miami finished the game, finished the contest. I said Texas A&M. That's it was South Florida and Florida State, by the way. They played those 3 games and determined the Sunshine State Championship in a row. Point is, they played 3 ranked teams. They had an opportunity in all 3 of those, and by the way, a Florida team that beat Texas. So really, they've played 4 games against either Power 4 ranked or at one point were ranked opponents, and they have not come close. Like the 28-22 score they beat Florida State by, yeah, Florida State barnstormed back in the fourth quarter to make that contest more respectable than it was. But even with that happening, like there was never a point that I thought Florida State can genuinely have a fourth quarter rally. There were a lot of people on social media who were like, yo, can the Noles do this? And my thought was, no, they can't. They absolutely can't. Like that, Miami is playing with their food right now. We haven't had the Mario meltdown. Here's the thing that I would point out, though. There's only one more game, in my opinion, that they could have the Mario meltdown, and that is next weekend against Louisville. But again, I've also seen Miller Moss make some stupid mistakes in the face of pressure. And what Mario Cristobal has done at Miami this year, better than anybody else, is Mario Cristobal, much like Brent Key, built up the offensive and defensive lines. Their O-line and their D-line are absolutely dominant. Cristobal was on with, I think, the guys from Barstool yesterday, and they said, was Mario Cristobal the player talented enough to play for this Miami team? And Mario Cristobal went, absolutely not. These guys dwarf me, and they would have kicked my ass. Not a chance, right? He built up that line, and it's working. So, with that being said, I think the path to an ACC title game for Clemson is probably closed. Mathematically, it is not. Mainly because I think the only path there is Miami losing 2 conference games, and their conference schedule remaining is Louisville, Stanford, SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt to wrap up the year. Any of you betting against Miami in any of those games after they've won 3 ranked and 1 against the team that beat Texas? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think you are. So, it is not an impossibility, but it's a Powerball chance at this point. So what do you expect to see out of Clemson? Let's not say the rest of the year yet. Let's say, what do you expect to see this weekend against Boston College? Here's what I'm looking for out of Clemson. Last week, Clemson took to the air. And I obviously understand why they took to the air. North Carolina is a bad football team, for sure. But they are particularly bad in their defensive backfield, which gave you an opportunity to do what I think was the most important thing last week, which was allow Cade Klubnik to go have a game and find himself a little bit. An expression that I use with great regularity in my life is sometimes you just got to see one go in, man. Like sometimes you just got to see one go in. Sometimes you're not having a day, you're a little bit off. And I would say, go hit a layup before you shoot another 3. Go put your ball inside of 5 feet and knock down that putt before you start getting mad at missing 12-footers. Go see one go down and remind yourself, all right, cool, I can do it. Like it's in there. Now I just got to figure out what I'm doing wrong. Go have a day where Cade Klubnik can find himself a little bit, where he can see one go down because North Carolina's DBs are atrocious. And they did that. Against Boston College this weekend, I would very much like to see Clemson not just establish the run. I would like to see Clemson pound the rock. I do not care. And this is something that, especially after drumming UNC this past weekend, I think Clemson fans may disagree with. But hear me out on why. I don't care if this game finishes 17-14, 10-7. I don't care what the narrative about this football team is if this game is a close game. As long as it is a close game because of the fact that Clemson pounded the football, extended drives, ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran and ran the football. Give it to Adam Randall 25 times. You're not catching a pass today, big fella, but we're going to put this thing in the pocket about 25 times today. You are going to be exhausted at the end of this. Take this opportunity to take a look at your depth chart and see if we need to start utilizing Adam Randall in other ways, if we need to start looking for the next guy, whether he is on this roster or we have to start looking in the portal for a freshman, whatever we need to do. Take this opportunity to test out some other running backs, to see who else might be the guy that is the guy that is up next. Make this game a game of, as I used to call Nick Saban ball, back when he had guys like Derrick Henry, back when he had guys like Mark Ingram. Make this game a game of joyless murder ball. You had your fun last week. You put up a bunch of points. You had some explosive plays. You got some highlight tape. Everybody got to find themselves. Everybody got to find their level of comfort last week. This week, there is no fun. There is no happiness. There is no joy. There needs to be 4 quarters of making life miserable for Boston College's front seven. Miserable. I mean, O-line dominating, running backs hitting the hole at 1,000 miles an hour, flat backing, pancaking, running over, to, through, around, guys in the second and third level. Run the ball until you are exhausted. Run the ball until they are miserable. That's what I want to see. Establish that. And the reason why, as I have told you a number of times so far this season, because the games that are losable ahead of you, SMU, how do you beat them? You keep Kevin Jennings' elusive ass on the bench. Duke, how do you beat them? You keep Mensah on the bench. Florida State, how do you beat them? You keep Thomas Castellanos on the bench. Louisville, how do you beat them? You keep Miller Moss on the bench. South Carolina, how do you beat them? You keep Lenore Sellers on the bench. All of these teams are quarterback teams. None of these teams are teams that are going to live and die by their defense. None of these teams are teams that are going to live and die by the run game. They are all teams that live and die by the QB. And if you want to beat a team that lives and dies by the quarterback, you keep them on the bench by extending drives. I am talking about you get the ball off a touchback at the 20. Take 14 minutes to drive the length of the field. Just run it between. Figure it out. Let your O-line get comfortable. Let your running backs get into a rhythm and a routine. And just drive the ball behind the big boys in a way that you keep Boston College's quarterback on the bench so that you know how, when it is time, to keep Louisville's quarterback on the bench, Florida State's quarterback on the bench, Duke's quarterback on the bench, South Carolina's quarterback on the bench. Because I will tell you that any of those games are losable for Clemson. It is very possible down that stretch of those games, in my opinion, possible that you could lose to any team remaining between you and the end of the year, with the exception of Furman. Like, that's it, right? How do you prevent that from happening? Keep their quarterback on the bench by pounding the rock. This is your game. This is your last exhibition game to make sure you have that correct.
By the way, don't sleep on Furman. They're playing pretty good right now.
They are. But that's one of those games that, like, you just win on, we've got more athletes than you do. With all due respect, I'm wearing a Furman shirt right now. I'm all in. I'm wearing one right now. But that's a game that Clemson cannot be scared in. At that point, they need to have figured out how to run the ball, how to keep QBs on the bench, how to make it to where the offense owns possession time like 80-20. This game should have, like, that team should, Boston College should get 3 possessions in this game. That's how bad it should be. They should get 3 possessions in this game. And that's it, because you are taking 8, 9, 10-minute drives.
So Boston College is worse or
bad.
as bad as North Carolina?
They're in the same hemisphere. They are not a good football team. This is a game that I said, I declare this a practice game, a scrimmage game, an exhibition game. Do not go out there trying to get headlines. Do not get yourself on ESPN. Make this joyless murder ball. I do not want to have fun watching this game. I want to be bored out of my skull because it's just run, pass, run, pass, run, pass, run. I'm talking 8-minute, 9-minute, 10-minute drives. All right, we'll talk about South Carolina, what they have to do when they take on the LSU Tigers. Next, when Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News joins the show, tells us what's been going on during the bye week, at practice this week, how the boys are getting ready for next week, or this weekend, I guess I should say. All of that coming up after Lonzo gives you a Heisman caliber sports flash.
In the MLB playoffs, the Mariners and Tigers will play an elimination game Friday after Detroit tied the series at 2 with a 9-3 win yesterday. The Tigers scored multiple runs on 4 of the 5 pitchers Seattle used. Chicago Cubs fought off elimination with a 4-3 win over Milwaukee yesterday. Jameson Taillon gave up 2 runs in 4 innings, but 5 other Cubs pitchers surrendered just 1. Chicago had 8 hits, including a Michael Busch homer that started a 4-run first inning. The Blue Jays are on the ALCS, or on to the ALCS, with a 5-2 win to eliminate the Yankees. The Jays had a dozen hits, including 4 doubles. New York went just 6 of 32 with only Aaron Judge recording multiple hits. And the Phillies avoided a sweep, knocking off the Dodgers 8-2 in LA. Aaron Nola went 2 innings before giving way to 5 innings from Ranger Suarez. Philly had 12 hits, including a pair of homers from Kyle Schwarber.
Up to the minute, upstate traffic. I just noticed a fresh crash, Highway 29, Wade Hampton at Suter Road. This is causing some delay. There are 2 wrecks southbound I-85, one at Aviation Parkway and another at Highway 14. This is starting to cause significant delays.
How'd you guess? He's been disguising his voice, or he tried. But yeah, it is Sam Elliott. It's a,
Yeah.
Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
I'm connected to all dudes with long hair, so I got him on doing traffic.
The Fan Upstate.
A massive weekend in college football upcoming, ladies and gentlemen. And that, of course, includes your South Carolina Gamecocks on the road down in perhaps the most difficult environment in all of college football to play in. That, of course, Death Valley, Louisiana, the home of the LSU Fighting Tigers in this game. It feels very important to Shane Beamer and the South Carolina Gamecocks. Disappointing loss to Vanderbilt, although they are a good team like I told you they would be. Disappointing loss to Mizzou, who may actually somehow end up having the best running back in college football. But this is not a get-right game. This is a challenging team because while Ole Miss was able to hand LSU a win and make it appear to the country that Rob Brown was right, they are a bit overrated, but still a very good football team, but very beatable. They did it because there's a young man playing quarterback at Ole Miss named Trinidad Chambliss, who was spectacular in that game. What I think has got to get the South Carolina fans a little bit excited is that Trinidad Chambliss plays a very similar game to Lenora Sellers. He just happened to have the game of his career as an unknown with very little tape on him in that game against LSU. There's a lot of tape on Lenora Sellers. So how does South Carolina attack that LSU defense that has a very good front seven? How do they wear him out the way Ole Miss did? I have an idea. To find out how they can do that, we should go to the phone lines now. And we should take a little virtual road trip right on down to Columbia, South Carolina. And that is where we find a young lady who covers the Gamecock Athletic Department for the Greenville News. She is also kind and gracious and gives us a little bit of her time every Thursday morning to talk a little Gamecock sports. Joining us now on the show, the lovely Lulu Kesson. Good morning, young lady. I need you to know I was quite mad at you last week because I knew you were going to New York. I did not know you were going to an MLB playoff postseason game. That looked like it was awesome.
Good morning. Yes, first of all, bear with me. I'm recovering from a sinus infection, so I apologize for my voice. But honestly, I did not know when we spoke that I was going to that game either. My friend texted me that she got tickets from work, and it was very, very last minute.
That's dope. This is shockingly true, Lulu. I've been to probably 120 Major League Baseball games in my life. Never been to a playoff game before. I can't imagine it wasn't electric, even if the Yankees did go on to lose the series. LOL.
Yes, it was awesome. It was very, very fun.
I dig it. All right, let's talk a little Gamecock football, Lulu Kesson. And as we always do, let's go back to last week because I did think South Carolina and Kentucky was a get-right game. It is not as talented of a roster as Mark Stoops has carried into the season the last couple of years. It is a Kentucky team kind of struggling to find their way a little bit, I think, which provided an opportunity for South Carolina to, in my opinion, just get on the same page, to kind of focus on, find the identity. I wish they would have had it before that game. And Shane Beamer said, we're still working on finding out what our identity is. I don't love that that is the case in week 6 of a 14-week season, but I understand reality sometimes. What was your takeaway from that game as far as finding out who this team is and the team finding out who the team is?
I think my biggest overall takeaway is okay, South Carolina can run the ball, but can they run it well and can they do it consistently? I still don't have the confidence to say yes, only because still at times South Carolina struggled. And then on the flip side, stopping the run, there was issues with that early. So you kind of look at it as, okay, yes, it's great to display that South Carolina, at first struggled and then their defense sort of locked in and improved. But it does sort of concern you looking at the gauntlet that they have and going forward. And it's just a fact that they're going to face teams that can run the ball a lot better and stop the run a lot better than they did against Kentucky. And I know it sounds like a broken record and everyone talks about the run game, but it was an example in a game for them to display or kind of take advantage of absolutely, probably the weakest SEC defense and offense they'll face. And it seemed like at times maybe they could have, stepped on the gas a little more.
I think that's 100% true. And again, finding the run identity, which was not a thing in the Vanderbilt and the Missouri games, that was a priority for me going into that game. I don't care if it's Attaway, if it's face on. I know I need Lenora Sellers involved. He looked like he was. And once to me, and maybe this is just me kind of having a bit of confirmation bias, Lulu, but it felt to me once we saw Lenora Sellers a little bit more involved in the run game, it felt to me as if the field opened up a little bit. And while we are talking about Kentucky, to me, that is mandatory if South Carolina wants to give themselves any chance on the road at LSU.
100%. I agree. And I think that is why reporters keep kind of talking to Shula about that, or fans keep talking to people about that, because it's not that anyone is necessarily accusing Shula of like keeping Lenoris in a certain place or in a certain way, or, you know, containing him, but it's recognizing how many good things happen when Lenoris is able to do that. And I think Kentucky was a nice example of that. I agree.
All right. So as far as takeaways overall, I thought it was about Lenoris getting comfortable. I think that, to me, it looked early in the season like, I can't really say, Lulu, if he was playing too tight or too loose, if he was taking too much of the pressure on himself or was trying to help other guys reach what their potential would be within this offense. I just know he didn't look right. Do you think we saw enough out of this Kentucky game that Lenoris Sellers can go be the football quarterback we saw last year and not feel like he's whatever it was that was kind of the roadblock, the mental block for him in the first few weeks of the season before the Vanderbilt injury?
Yes, and I will point to something Lenoris told me, which he said he used to have the problem-solving mindset of, when something goes wrong, I'm just going to go do it myself and try to fix it myself immediately, instead of communicating with others what's going wrong and how they can fix it. And I think that we saw a lot of that early, where Lenoris was dealing with a lot of really young players around him. And instead of maybe communicating, you know, what could go better in a certain situation, he felt the pressure to try to do it all himself. And obviously everyone knows what happens when you have a quarterback that tries to quite literally carry the entire weight of the team on its shoulders.
Yeah, and I mean, I get it to some degree, Lulu, because I know a lot of other people said that this team goes as far as Lenoris Sellers takes them. I mean, yeah, you've got other good players, and those good players are still going to have to perform and all that. But at the end of the day, whether it's playoffs, stay alive in the SEC till late in the season, whatever, it's going to be however far he takes you. But even when you have that mentality, to have all of that heaped onto one guy, that's a lot to ask, even of a long-time established veteran quarterback. I think getting some of the other guys going and involved last week was important, because, again, if you come into this game against LSU and LSU goes, hey, if we remove Lenoris Sellers, we remove the Gamecock offense, then they got guys like Will Weeks over there that can make that happen, and that makes this game a hell of a lot more scary than, yeah, Lenoris is still the guy that's going to have to make some special plays, but you have to play out of way, face on whoever. You've got to play honest, because they will beat you if you let them.
100%. And I think that when you look at last year, like, a key part of that, and this probably just sounds like pretty obvious in a basic take, but like, Lenoris was Lenoris, and then you had Rocket Sanders, and then you had Josh Simon. Like, just, they had at least one player that was a problem on all three levels, and then bits and pieces to support. And that's not me saying, oh, South Carolina's had a better roster. I just think by this time they had more established players that were a threat, and that's exactly to the point you just made.
I mean, I don't think it is bad, Lulu, or incorrect to say, yeah, last year they had a better roster. Now, there are some spots they may get better. Again, like, we have seen the flashes of, there's that freak athlete, Nick Harbor, we're looking for, maybe a little better across the offensive line. Overall, I don't think it's bad to say it was a better roster last year. What I would like to be able to say is, but the scheming is better this year. The fit of the play calling is better this year. And I think in a lot of games that's been lacking, but we kind of saw that develop a little bit against Kentucky as well. Was there anything from the play calling front that jumped out at you as, oh, maybe they tinkered a little bit here?
Yeah, and I'll quickly go back and say the only reason I was somewhat hesitant about the rosters, just because on offense they still have so many of their pieces from last year. Obviously not Josh Simon, but like the Jared Browns, Vandrevius Jacobs, Mazeo Bennett, stuff like that. Like, that's also why, obviously, losing Rocket Sanders is a huge loss. But to answer your question, I think that South Carolina, it's hard because you look at sort of the play calling and the attack, and you want to sit there and say, like, okay, just do it again. But also, the coaches will be the first to tell you, like, oh, you know, it's game specific. It's sort of what Kentucky was doing or what they were giving us. And you want to sit here and say that things that jumped out at me in a positive way will be, similar against LSU, but it's tricky because things have just been inconsistent for better or for worse this season. So it's sort of hard to predict what will continue and what was maybe very specific to, Kentucky on defense, Kentucky just having a really kind of scared quarterback, or on offense just not having the ability to stop someone like Lenore.
All right, so let's look ahead to this LSU game. This is an LSU team that I've said already, like they are upset about the loss to Ole Miss and Trinidad Chambliss, and certainly, obviously, Lane Kiffin. They are upset about that. I know the LSU fans, to some degree, are a little bit panicky because historically, when something goes wrong for Brian Kelly turns into not a super nice guy, and that has led to some of the teams he has coached begin to spiral a little bit. I don't know if that is going to be the case, especially after just 1 L. What I do know, Lulu, is Trinidad Chambliss is everything in the terms of the attack. Like maybe he's a little bit thicker, stronger, a little bit better power runner, but we've also seen Lenoris run through some chest. Ole Miss put the blueprint down on how to beat this LSU team. So before we get to some of the X's and O's, do you think that, having seen what Trinidad Chambliss and what Lane Kiffin did last weekend, is this a winnable game? Not will they win, is it winnable for South Carolina on the road in Baton Rouge?
100%. And I think I told you this last week, but I think that this is the most winnable game South Carolina has in this streak of, stretch of SEC teams. But yes, to answer your question, 100%.
What does this team need to do then to replicate what Ole Miss was able to do? You unfortunately have the disadvantage. While Ole Miss played them at home in Oxford, Mississippi, you've got to go down to LSU and play a night game on the field in Death Valley. That is, I think, the number one most difficult place to play in college football. What does South Carolina need to do to take this from a winnable game to a we won game?
I think stay consistent, and I'm saying that because I think South Carolina, this isn't a game. Last year, South Carolina came out on top, put up, they were up 17, and then kind of stuff hit the fan. LSU was able to claw their way back in, and South Carolina didn't necessarily handle the back and forth very well. I think South Carolina's at its best when it just goes back and forth from the start. And I know that might sound dumb or simple, but I point to Missouri, I point to A&M, I point to, those were sort of these early leads that South Carolina almost lost. This is last year. But then sometimes when they just kind of let a team know that they're not going anywhere, I think that's when they kind of punch teams the hardest rather than a surprising 14 or 7-0 lead. I think South Carolina needs to recognize that this is a game that they can absolutely win. In some ways should win if you're just a passionate South Carolina fan and looking at, stats. And I think that South Carolina, knowing the environment, can't try to do too much from the jump. They just have to execute and understand that every little thing matters, penalties, etc. And I think that will play a huge role, is just how South Carolina rides the waves and understands that when LSU scores, they have to meet the moment. When they score, they can't get too high, too low type of thing.
I like that take. I like that takeaway. Let me give you a key to the game that I am locked in on, Lulu Kesson, and get your thoughts on it. I was listening yesterday to Brian Kelly's press conference previewing, setting up this game. And he pointed out that Dylan Stewart is maybe the best pass rusher in the Southeastern Conference, that he's probably the best that we'll see. But then Brian Kelly kind of talked a little bit about the expectation that this team can keep Garrett Nussmeier, up, clean, healthy, can keep him, can get him a clean pocket. It wasn't like he was directly calling out South Carolina's pass rush outside of Dylan Stewart. But it was, if you read between the lines to some degree. To me, a huge impact on this game is going to be, can the rest of the defensive line collapse the pocket, make Garrett Nussmeier uncomfortable, make him protect those ribs that are still sore from the torso injury earlier this year? This game may very well be won and lost by the defensive line. Dylan Stewart's going to catch a lot of double teams. Somebody else, Barrett, Thomas, whoever, somebody else is going to have to step up and make a play and make a difference in this game. That's, to me, where the biggest impact on the game is going to be made. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I agree. And you pointed last year, Nussmeier, mean, granted, South Carolina and LSU faced off week 3, so much smaller sort of tape, but Nussmeier hadn't been sacked until Kyle Kennard sacked him in that game. And they had Will Campbell on that O-line last year. I think this isn't to say there's a drastic difference necessarily, but LSU's O-line is different right now. It's kind of figuring out its identity based on conversations I've had with LSU reporters. And I think exactly to your point, the pressure and the focus is going to be on Dylan Stewart. So I think Brian Thomas Jr. has to have a monster game. And I think he's fully capable, and he's shown flashes of doing that.
I think that is fair. All right, Lulu Kesson, we'll let you go so you can, I hope, go back to sleep and take a nap and get yourself feeling right. Your prediction, your prognostication for this game.
I know that this is like a cop-out. I would not be surprised if it's like a 10-point LSU win, but I also would not be surprised if South Carolina won by like a field goal or a touchdown. I do think it'll be close. I guess I'm probably going to print an LSU win, but I would not be surprised if South Carolina pulls this out.
I think that is a very fair take. Lulu Kesson not just showing up this Thursday at 8 a.m. to talk a little Carolina Gamecock athletics, slapping the play like a champion today sign and running on the field hurt to do it. Lulu, go get yourself feeling right. We got a big weekend ahead of us, young lady.
Yeah, I got to get to LSU. Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and have a great weekend.
Wait, are you heading down?
I am. I've never been, so I'm excited.
I will send you some suggestions later on today. All right, the Louisiana kid me, I got some spots for you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, awesome.
Enjoy the trip. We'll talk to you next week. Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News. Follow her on X at Lulu Kesson, LULUKESIN. And especially if you are a Gamecock fan, locked into this game because she's going boots on the ground in Red Stick, Louisiana. Let's take a break. We've done a lot of college football over the last hour. We did some Chapel Hill drama. We did some Clemson, BC. We did some South Carolina, LSU. Let's talk some other stuff. Let's get some NFL conversation in here because there's quarterback news around the NFL. There's massive divisional games, and we got a Thursday nighter that I got to tell you, if you'd have told me preseason I was going to be locked in for Giants-Eagles, I would have said you're bananas. Now I know I'm going to be a tired boy tomorrow because I'm staying up to midnight watching an NFC matchup tonight. Why? Worry not. I'll share. Coming up, Rob Brown, the Great Milonzo U. The Rob Brown Show is on the radio. It's the Fan Upstate.
This is NXT superstar Ricky Saints, and you're listening to the Rob Brown Show on the Fan
Upstate. Stay right there. We will be right back. The Rob Brown Show back on the radio. It is the fan upstate Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo, and you. We have talked quite a bit of college football so far this morning. Talked a little in the last segment with Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News about the South Carolina contest down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Saturday. I absolutely do think that it is a winnable game for South Carolina. I just think you'll have to play about as close to perfect football as you have played all season, A. And B, I think you have to go with the lessons you learned in the win over Kentucky. There's been a lot of football teams over the years that have finally hit a stride, and then the second some adversity hits, all of a sudden they start going bananas, right? About once a week, I find myself sending out a tweet that I might as well just copy to the clipboard forever that says, why is it when a football team figures out something that is working and one thing goes wrong, they stop doing the thing that was working? Why? Why does it happen every week? And it doesn't matter what level of football we're watching. Every time something starts to happen that isn't in the plan, it's like, oh, that thing that was working that put us in this spot, we should not do that anymore. I'll never understand it. All right. I do want to talk about this real quick. Lonzo, is Baker Mayfield the most fun player in the NFL to watch right now? Because he definitely is.
Here's the thing. He always was.
That's fair. He was fun when he was in C-Town. He was probably the only fun thing to watch when he was in Carolina.
Listen, those commercials that he did where he supposedly lived in the stadium in Cleveland, those are some of the best athlete commercials of all time.
If you're a Cleveland Brown fan, you should carry hatred for your own team just because of Baker Mayfield.
They already do.
I know they do.
I have Cleveland Brown fans.
I'm just adding to that. Baker Mayfield, if you did not see it before the game last weekend against the Seattle Seahawks, the Bucs, which by the way, elite uniform matchup in that one. The Bucs and the Seahawks both wearing their throwbacks. The Bucs in the creamsicle orange, the Seahawks in the classic old school silver helmet with the blue uni and the silver pants.
It bothered me because I remember what kind of shape I was in back when they used to wear those. And I wish I was there again.
I loved that uni matchup. That is the uni matchup of the year in the National Football League.
Did they have those when you were a kid, or was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
After?
Yeah. Those were the trousers and shirts the Hawks were wearing when I was a kid. Same with the Bucs.
Yeah, but that's back when the Buccaneers were not good. I don't know why you want. Why do you want to go throwbacks to a time when you were not good?
Because they weren't good, but the unis were dope. I didn't hate them. They grew on me a lot over the years.
I like the new ones better. Sorry, I love the old Seahawks uniforms, but I like the new Tampa Bay stuff better.
It is contentious.
The color scheme, all that stuff.
It is contentious. People who love the creamsicle orange love the creamsicle orange. People who don't hate the creamsicle orange.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just orange that I don't like.
That's fair. That might be it. So Baker Mayfield in the tunnel with the boys, leading the squad out to the team. And as they were waiting for the signal from the coordinator to run out onto the field, a Seahawks fan leaned out over the railing and started heckling Baker Mayfield. And Baker, being Baker, started firing back at the guy. Now, I'm not going to play the audio for you, not because I don't want to. I'm not going to play the audio for you because if I edited it, it would have just sounded like, and nobody wants that. So got into it with the fan, went out onto the field, handed the Seattle Seahawks their first L on the road at Lumen, gave them the L. And as Baker made his way after the game off of the field back to that same tunnel, Baker made sure that he said bye-bye to the fan. Just started running his mouth back at the guy. Who sucks now, buddy? Eat that L, pal. Like just having a good time.
Exactly what he said, buddy and pal.
Yep. And definitely not another word. Turned around, did the backwards bunny hop while throwing up the deuces at the guy. It was great because the guy gave him hell. He beat the guy's team. He gave the guy hell. Absolutely fair. Well, the Bake Show, in a press conference a little later on this week, was asked about that moment and his, shall we say, attitude as the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
How much fun was it for you after jawing pregame in the tunnel with that Seahawks fan and being able to have the last word?
Pretty fun.
Is there something where you kind of realize maybe your younger years, I don't know if you were as accepted for doing some of that stuff, and now it seemed like it's a little bit more embraced. You know, people gravitate to it a little bit more. The narrative changes around that. Do you notice that?
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys I try and not get too high, not get too low, which is something that I was not doing early on in my career. But, you know, early on in my career, it's looked as cocky, immature. Now it's moxie. He's a dog. So it's same different day.
So Baker says, hey, look, man, when you're young and you're acting like that, it's attitude. It's cocky. When you're older, then he's got moxie. Moxie is my favorite word. My favorite adjective when describing people. He's got moxie. Love that word. He's got moxie. He's a dog. Here's the thing.
See, when I hear moxie, I think of an underachiever. And so moxie is the only way that they're getting ahead in life. And I don't consider him an underachiever. I consider him having been in a great situation in Cleveland, and Cleveland is just stupid. Then he had to bounce around to some bad situations, and now he's in a great one.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think the fact that he was able to keep performing in a way that he was able to bounce around, and then eventually land in a great spot. Like a lot of quarterbacks wouldn't have bounced around that much to land that point, but he just kept being that dog, showed some moxie to end up in a spot where he became the heir apparent to Tom Brady, and then kept the Bucs winning. Kept the Bucs winning multiple consistent divisional championships. And oh, by the way, spoiler alert, they're going to win another one this year. So I think there's some, but however you want to use it, moxie, grit, determination, perseverance, whatever adjective you like to describe, for sure. Let's make this very simple. If your team is losing and you act that way, it's frowned upon. And if your team is winning and you act that way, and by that way, I mean literally any way. You can act literally any way. If your team is losing, it is bad to act that way. And if your team is winning, it is good to act that way. We talked about Bill Belichick earlier. I think he is the premier example of this. When Hoodie was running the New England Patriots and was kind of a butthole to everybody, we venerated it. Oh, this guy, he's got it figured out. He's got his system. He knows how to operate. It's all mind games. It's all head games. It's all this. It's all that. And then Tom Brady left, and Bill didn't change a lick. But the Patriots were bad. They were just bad. And then all of a sudden, Bill Belichick, who changed nothing about his behavior. Nothing about his behavior. All of a sudden, Bill kind of sucks. Like he's kind of not cool anymore. Well, because he's not winning anymore. It's real simple. The thing I appreciate, and I will even say I appreciate it out of Bill, even if I think it's the reason North Carolina's in the dump right now, is like you never had to guess with Bill Belichick. You just didn't have to guess. Now, you might not learn anything from him, but you didn't have to guess where he was or how he felt or whatever. And the thing I appreciate about Baker Mayfield is I think if it wasn't for that moxie, that grit, that determination, that spirit, that's a good one too, because spirit's kind of an across-the-board term. That spirit.
That's another one that goes along with moxie.
That is, I disagree. I think you can be good and have great spirit. That's why we have Spirit Day. I'm a big spirit guy. I think you can have that, and Baker does.
Now I'm picturing you as a member of the Spirit Squad. Way to go, you.
Me and Dolph hanging out. Me and the Miz. So the thought here for me is guys like Baker Mayfield, guys who got that moxie, that spirit, that dog in them, like we should celebrate that because if we were to, and how many times has Rob Brown said this on the radio before? About 1 trillion. If everybody would have just said, hey, Baker's not good. Look, the Cleveland Browns cut ties for a reason. The Carolina Panthers couldn't get it done with him for a reason. This guy just isn't very good at football. And the Bucs would have bought into that. They wouldn't have got Baker Mayfield. And the Baker Mayfield experience, which we're all on that ride together in Tampa Bay, would not be happening right now. This is why I have said for a long time, I will, as I did with Bryce Young, as I did with Sam Darnold, as I did with Caleb Williams, as I did with Baker Mayfield, this is why I will not give up on quarterbacks for having a bad experience at franchise number 1 and sometimes franchise number 2, because some of them are just busting that ass.
Unless you're someone who took yourself out of the game and sat down.
Well, yeah, but what would we say about that guy? He ain't got moxie. He ain't got that dog in him.
Is that what we say?
That's what we say.
I'm very disappointed that you have said Baker's name wrong at least 15 times.
See, here's the thing. I think I'm at a point now where I can just let Baker speak for Baker at this point. My man saying, I got moxie. I got that dog in me. I yelling, Baker isn't going to, I can't elevate that.
It's a show thing.
That's fair. It's a show thing.
And we witnessed it. So it's not like it's unusual. Right?
Baker! I love this dude. And despite the fact that he's playing for a divisional rival and one of my least favorite teams in the NFL, Tampa Bay is a must-watch game every freaking week now because Baker showed you. Sometimes you give up on a quarterback, you lose out on that guy, and it's spectacular. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Your one-stop shop for sports betting insight. It's MGM Tonight on the BetQL Network. Tonight at 7, only on The Fan.
Upstate.
I'm Chuck Sanders here.
He had, maybe I remember that.
South Carolina football coming off the bye at number 11 LSU this Saturday. The Furman Paladins are on the road at Western Carolina. Clemson Tigers on the road at Boston
I agree.
College.
That is one of the
South
most
Carolina
impressive
State
football
at
things
NCA&T. Wofford plays host to
Carolina.
Norfolk
2
State.
days with the Rams.
Presbyterian visits Butler.
We'll see if
South
Joe
Carolina
Flacco can do the
listed
same
offensive
thing.
guard Marky Anderson is out for Saturday.
No, he's
at
at,
LSU.
Joe Flacco actually has a
With
couple
knee
more
injury,
days,
offensive
but still,
lineman
it will be
Nolan
a
Hay and
week.
Carson Henry listed as
Although, when did he
doubtful.
get there? Did he get there
South Carolina
yesterday?
quarterback Lenore Sellers is among the top 25 for the Golden Arm Award.
Was he?
QB
Okay.
Kate Klubnik not on the list at this point. Panthers running back Rico Dowdle, former South Carolina
Green Bay.
running back. And
Do you know who is the only quarterback to beat the Green Bay Packers so far this year?
Yards,
Joe Flacco.
touchdown
He was
for
Cleveland's
the Panthers
QB. Cleveland's the only team to beat the
Sunday
Packers.
afternoon against the Cowboys.
So Joe Flacco could go 2-0 against Green Bay in 4 weeks, 3 weeks. That's spectacular. I hope he does it. I think it'll be hilarious.
Or he could look like a really old man behind that offensive line.
That's also true. I would not want to play behind that offense. I don't know that there's enough
Up to
money.
the minute, upstate traffic.
BRB, dudes.
Text or call. One number does it all. 844-326-3663. That's 844-FAN-PHONE. This is the Rod Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
One more quick NFL story for you here that I would like to get to, because I do think whenever we cover national stories here on the show, like, we always want to have local angles first. That is, like, we want to talk about the things that y'all care about, which is why we have Lulu Keston on, we have John Blau on, we have Rashad Beard on, we have guests on all the time. We spend most of our time on the local stories. Whenever I talk about these national stories, I do so for two reasons. Number one, because I do know that there are, for instance, a lot of NFL fans out there. We're a transplant city. Roughly half of the population is from other places. Those people want at least a little bit of their team as well. Number two, if you say care about the NFL, you care, at least to some degree, about all 32 teams that are in it, because the performance of all 32 teams has at least some impact on the future of your team, even if that's only where you are drafted. And certainly if you are a playoff caliber team, you are interested in the other teams that are playoff caliber teams. But there is one more reason that I like to talk about, not even the X's and O's, but I like to talk about the human interest. I just refer to it as drama, the drama stories with national sports. And the reason is because I think in a lot of them, there is a lesson that can be learned, or a point that can be made that can be educational for us as fans. It can be educational for positions of authority on other teams at other schools and other franchises or programs. And I think that, much like with anything else, the people who are the most successful on this planet, there are two groups of them. Number one, people who are born to really rich parents. And number two, people who can learn lessons that other people experience and then figure out how they translate to your world. If you can look around and learn lessons from other people and then incorporate those lessons into your life, you'll be better for it. This is why there is the old moniker of you are the people you hang out with, right? Look at your social circle and recognize that the people you surround yourself with are usually a pretty good reflection of who and where you are in your life. And I think a big part of the reason for that is because when you look around at other people and you see what's going on in their life, you can learn from that. And if you are content with where you are, you'll be happy or being around people who are content with where they are, whether it's emotional or spiritually or financially or professionally or whatever. When you figure out this is my groove, man, this is my channel, this is where I'm supposed to be, it is likely that the people around you will be in that same area, in that same thing. If your faith is the most important thing in your life, you are likely surrounded by other people who are churchgoers for whom faith is their most important thing. If you are financially driven, if money is your most important motivating factor, you're probably spending your time with people who are also financially successful or trying to be, etc. Right? So the reason that I talk a lot about these national stories that maybe do not have a huge impact on you as a non-fan, right? Like what is happening with the Philadelphia Eagles right now is very interesting to me. Very interesting as a sports fan. I know it may not be for somebody who's a Panthers fan, and especially is maybe just a casual fan who tune into shows like this one so that they can hear about their team. But I do think when you have a conversation like I'm about to with the Philadelphia Eagles, I do think that these are opportunities to talk about things that people are learning and to watch in the future to see if your team learns those lessons, reacts to that, whatever. So, with that being said, let me get to this Eagles story real quick. The Philadelphia Eagles are obviously the reigning, defending, undisputed National Football League champions. The Philadelphia Eagles are also, after 5 weeks of National Football League football, 4-1. The only game that they have lost was this most recent weekend when they dropped a 21-17 decision to the Denver Broncos. Now, I would like to be very clear and say the Broncos are a good team. Do I think they're a great team? No. Do I think they're a playoff team? Borderline the last wild card spot, but that's probably about it. Do I think they're a contender? No, I do not think they are I don't think they're a divisional contender. I mean, maybe they are. We'll see if the Chiefs rebound. We'll see if the Chargers rebound, but maybe they are. I do not think that they are a conference contender this year. The Eagles lost to that team. No shame in losing to a good Denver team. And it is the NFL. With the right bounces of the right ball and the right play calls and the right schemes on the right day, the worst team in the NFL can beat the best team in the NFL if they catch them on the right day. The problem that I have is not that they lost to the Denver Broncos. The problem I have is how they lost to the Denver Broncos. And we talked about this on Monday. It's one of the few out-of-market games that I specifically gave some time to. Why did I do that? Because the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Denver Broncos. Despite having a 10-3 lead at the half, despite having a 17-3 lead at the end of the third quarter. Now, if I was to tell you that a football team led the first half 10-3 and led the third quarter at its conclusion 17-3. And then I said, based on that, what conclusion would you draw about that offense? Because the conclusion I would draw about that offense is, I assume they ran the ball about 11 times. I would assume they made this game boring as hell by running the rock. And then when you add on that they lost a game, they led 17-3 at the end of the third quarter. And they have Saquon Barkley on the team. I have zero idea how this team ran the ball 11 times. 11. They ran the ball 11 times. I get that Saquon Barkley is not going to have the year that he had last year. And that's not because Saquon Barkley isn't still the best running back in the NFL. He is. That is because last year Saquon Barkley was the guy we were talking about getting to 3,000 yards or 2,000 yards, and he would have, except for in 2 different games that he could have gotten there. He said what? Remember the clip going around? He's on the bench. Sirianni comes over. He's like, hey, bro, I can get you to 200 yards in this game if you want it. He said, no, let the young guys eat. Let the young guys get some opportunity to learn here. He stopped himself from getting to 2K, or else he absolutely would have been there. That means that this year, a lot of teams came in with a philosophy that I said preseason was the reason that I think the Eagles will be in the NFC mix, but I don't know if they'll be the rep this year because they're going to put it all on Jalen Hurts. And by that, I mean, everybody's going to take away Saquon and say, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us with Jalen Hurts. Now, Jalen Hurts has been balling out to some degree. Last week in this loss, 23 of 38, 280 and a pair of tutties, a QB rating of over 100. One of only like 3 quarterbacks last weekend to hit that mark. I don't think that's why the Eagles lost the game. I think the Eagles lost the game because they only ran the ball 11 times. And I think there's a reason they only ran the ball 11 times. There were 2 reports that dropped last week. Early in the week, the report dropped that A.J. Brown was upset at his role in the offense. Why? Because A.J. Brown, as you can ask my wife, because he's on her fantasy team, is not doing anything. He's getting like 2 or 3 targets a game. None of them have been down the field, big play opportunities. And he wants his numbers, dog. Which, again, I've said before, as a wide receiver, I totally get. Because when it's contract time, they are just going to point at the sheet of paper and go, hey, man, you only had 750 yards. You're not a $24 million man. And you got to go, you didn't throw me the ball, you jackass. I can't get 750 plus yards if I'm getting 2 targets a game. It's not how it's going to work. So he was upset about it. And then later on in the week, I have to assume or imagine, inspired by the story about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith came out and said that he was unhappy with the reduced role in the offense. Why? Because the Eagles are a team that runs the football 1,000 times with Saquon Barkley. And I think that as a response to that, Nick Sirianni came out and said, all right, dude, we're going to be a throwing team this week. We're going to get AJ and Devontae involved. So what they do? They threw the ball 38 times. Devontae Smith got 10 targets. A.J. Brown got 8. Devontae Smith had 114 yards. A.J. Brown had 43 yards, but a handful of first down catches, which is kind of his role on that offense when they are throwing the football. Yet, the Philadelphia Eagles lost to the Denver Broncos. So, what is the lesson that is a takeaway from this? If you're the best at a thing, do the thing. That's it. That's the whole thing. Sometimes this game ain't that complicated. Now, there are aspects of it that are super complicated. You ever seen those clips of Peyton Manning and Drew Brees giving calls in the huddle? 48 flood, XY 77, Z drive, 1497 Omaha blitz ready. Like, they're bananas. But if you ever listen to them break down those calls, what you will learn is that if you're on the field on offense, usually only one of those things pertains to you, right? 55, that's the offense's line's protection. X drive, cool, that's the primary receiver. That's all he's listening for. X drive, that's the route I'm running. Y split, all right, that's the route I'm running. Dive right, that's what the running back is doing here. It's not that complicated. And that is at every level up to and including if you are the best at a thing. And if you just, I don't know, won the friggin' Super Bowl by doing the thing, maybe do that thing more. Earlier this week, Nick Sirianni called A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, and Saquon Barkley into his office to have a meeting about fixing the offense. My guy, you were 4-0 until you changed the offense. Now you're 4-1. And I get the reality of the situation, which is you don't want to create a rift between you and Devontae Smith, a rift between you and A.J. Brown, which we already saw. A.J. Brown's already forced his way out of one school because there was a rift, or one program, one franchise in Tennessee. Forced his way out because he hated the chemistry. I get it. You don't want to lose the guy. But at the same time, you have done nothing but nail draft picks, including at the wide receiver position. You've done nothing but nail draft picks. So why, when you go 4-0, running a Saquon-style offense, when you are undefeated and the short odds favorite in the NFC to get back to the Super Bowl, because two wide receivers say, hey, I'm really upset. I would like the ball, please. I would like you to throw me the football, please. You're going to completely derail that. You're going to throw 38. He completed 23. You're going to throw 38 times. And with Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Dillon, and Will Shipley in the scat back that he's become, you're going to run the ball 11. That's 11 times between all four of those guys. Not like 11 carries per guy. 11 carries between all those guys. The best, unquestionable, hands down, undisputed running back in the NFL. You give him the ball 6 times. Are you shocked you lost? You are 4-1 for one reason and one reason alone. You let two guys make you change the philosophy of the offense away from what you do better than anybody else. Nobody's been able to stop it. And then you're like, hey, let's do something else because some guys' feelings are hurt. If they leave, they leave. If you want to go play for somebody who's not a Super Bowl favorite, like 6 years in a row, good luck. Have fun. Well, you can watch us on TV from Cancun when you're playing in Cincinnati next year. Have a ball, bud. Don't change stuff for no reason when the stuff you're changing friggin' works. This is unbelievable. You know what does work every time? You getting smarter because of Lonzo Sports Flash.
And scientific. Somebody said it. In the MLB playoffs, the Mariners and Tigers will play an elimination game Friday after Detroit tied the series at 2 with a 9-3 win yesterday. The Tigers scored multiple runs on 4 of the 5 pitchers Seattle used. Chicago Cubs fought off elimination with a 4-3 win over Milwaukee yesterday. Jameson Taillon gave up 2 runs in 4 innings, but 5 other Cub pitchers surrendered just 1. Chicago had 8 hits, including a Michael Busch homer that started a 4-run first inning. The Blue Jays are on the ALCS with a 5-2 win. They're on 2. To eliminate the Yankees, the Jays had a dozen hits, including 4 doubles. New York went just 6 of 32 with only Aaron Judge recording multiple hits. And the Phillies avoided a sweep, knocking off the Dodgers 8-2 in LA. Aaron Nola went 2 innings before giving way to 5 innings from Ranger Suarez.
Up to the minute upstate traffic. The peak of morning rush is here. Both north and southbound I-85 is really feeling the strain in the normal places. The southbound side actually has a couple of accidents along the way. If you're headed south between Spartanburg and Greenville, add 20 to 30 minutes to your driving plans. I-26 traffic is getting thick, especially close to the interchange with I-85. From the News Talk 98.9 WORD Traffic Center, I'm Bill Brooks on The Fan, Upstate.
What they're doing now at QC Kinetics is truly cutting-edge medicine. Hey, it's Charlie James. If you have joint pain from a sprained ankle to chronic arthritic pain,
And check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Unfiltered sports talk. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed.
Only
The Fan Upstate.
I've been called worse. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. Final 60 here on a Thursday morning. I almost said afternoon, but it's not afternoon. It's Thursday morning. Bright and clear, 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's afternoon somewhere. And since we're online and you can listen to us anywhere in the world or other places, maybe it's afternoon where they're listening right now.
I know for a fact that we do have someone who streams the show, not every day, but with some regularity, from Berlin. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon there. So thanks for joining us this Monday afternoon. Guy in Berlin who listens to the show and emails about once every 2 months. It's great to have you.
I would say something in German, but I don't know.
Sprechen Sie Dutch.
Borscht. I don't know.
Bratwurst. And that's it. That's all I got.
Kielbasa.
Kielbasa is a good one.
Love the kielbasa.
Schnitzel. I love a schnitzel.
I don't believe I've had schnitzel.
Oh, I love a schnitzel. Schnitzel is just a pork chop.
Do you call it a schnitzel or do you just call
No,
it
it's just schnitzel.
Okay, because you said a.
Yeah.
It's like okay.
It's I would like schnitzel. I think you would say like I would like a schnitzel, but the food is good. Like you would say I would like a steak, but if it's on the plate, you go that's steak.
Okay,
right?
so schnitzel is actually can be served in like a one serving.
Yeah,
so you can call it a
schnitzel is a piece of meat.
Okay, all right.
Schnitzel is a piece of meat. Yeah, I think that's it. I think my German pretty much starts and ends with beer and flattened pork chop meats. And that's it. That's it. But Bavaria. I know my favorite donut's a Bavarian cream donut. For what it's worth,
they are good.
I love a Bavarian cream.
Oktoberfest. That's not really a German.
It is.
Word,
that is what they call it in Germany. It is Oktoberfest.
Do they call it that in Germany?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. It is very high on the world travel bucket list for Rob Brown is to make it to a German Oktoberfest.
Do you want to play? Do you want to watch an NFL game in Germany though?
If I could, if they ever did an NFL game, I'll tell you this right now. If they ever did an NFL game in Germany in October during Oktoberfest, that's what we're doing for a vacation this year, hon. Nope, we're not sorry. We're not doing the Amalfi Coast in Italy. All right. We're not going skipping around in fields in Ireland. We're going to get hammered on German beer and watch NFL football and sing John Denver with 80,000 foreign fans. I can't wait. 100%. The clips of the Germans singing Almost Heaven, West Virginia at every NFL game, it's the best part of that game. That game could be the greatest NFL game ever played. But when they turn the camera on 77,000 strong in Bayern Munich Stadium singing John Denver in English. Oh, dude, it's goosebumps every time. Hey, here's a sentence that if you would have told me preseason I was going to say this week, I would have said that you are a liar. I'm kind of excited about this Philly Giants game tonight. Like, that's not a thing that I thought that I would say preseason. Why would I say that? Now, I did say that the Giants, to me, may have entered the year along with their New York counterparts, the New York Football Jets, Jets, as the biggest question mark. I'm interested. I could see it going well. I could also see it being an abject failure in the National Football League.
Scatterboo on a national stage. Why would you not want to watch that?
I want to watch Scatterboo all the time. There was a very funny clip from the Saints game last week, and the Saints beat the Giants last weekend. And there was a clip where Cam Scatterboo picked up Curtis Granderson, our defensive end, who is a dude, like a big dude, hit him in the chest with a face mask, lifted him up, pancaked him like 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And Scatterboo got up and lost his gosh darn mind. Well, like 2 players later, Scatterboo was the lead blocker in a hole, and Demario Davis hit him so hard that he rocked Cam Scatterboo. And he's like, this is big boy football, little boy. Like, got up in his grill. After the game, Demario went looking for Cam Scatterboo, and he's like, dude, you're good. Respect. You're a baller. I love this kid. I want to give you a quote that Cam Scatterboo said earlier this week. He was asked, finally, by a reporter, Cam, with the way that you play football, and I'm adding this part, very recklessly, are you worried? Are you afraid of CTE? And Cam Scatterboo gave the most meathead, I'm all in, put this guy on TV every day answer, Lonzo. He said, and I quote, CTE should be afraid of me. That's the most football dude answer of all time. Hey, buddy, you know the serious mental condition that is impacting NFL players who are wildly physical in the way they play football, the way you are? Are you worried about that? No. Brain disease, fear me. I love this caveman of a psychopath.
Prove you already have something by saying something like that.
Seriously.
Probably. I mean,
I freaking love this dude, man. And I am going to enjoy every football game Cam Scatterboo plays, because the way he plays football at the size he plays it at, he's not Mike Allstott, people.
I believe
the way he plays at the size he plays at, we got him for maybe 2 seasons.
I believe we talked about this before, but I want to say it again. He is that guy. Everybody has that buddy who does the stupid things. Hey, watch this, hold my beer, all that kind of stuff, and never seems to get hurt. That might be Scatterboo.
It is. That being said, those dudes are always the most fun to hang out with. Say what you want. They're my favorite bros. My favorite bros are the psychopaths, the lunatics, the insane people with no filter.
Also the ones that get you in a fight for no reason. But, you know.
I mean, I love them. All right, I'm excited about this game, and let me tell you why, aside from the fact that I will watch any game Cam Scatterboo is playing in. I'm excited about this game because of what we talked about in the last segment, and that is Philadelphia. Because today, the theme of the show is learning lessons. Learning lessons, taking the lessons that you learn, and perhaps taking the lessons that other people learn and applying them in a way to your life that can help you be successful. That's important. You need to figure out how to learn lessons from life without anybody explicitly saying, hey, here is the lesson that I hope you learned. You need to be able to analyze situations in your life, recognize, learn the lesson, and then apply them so that the bad things that taught you the lesson don't happen again. But I think equally important is the ability to look at other people and learn the lessons that they learned for the bad reasons that they learned them, and then say, oh, that's a good lesson. I should try to avoid that so that I don't have to learn that lesson again because they just learned that lesson for me. I am really intrigued by the Eagles tonight because the Saints showed you last week that if you want to beat the New York Football Giants, the way that you beat the New York Football Giants is to be boring. It just is to be boring. That's how you beat this team. You beat this team by running the ball more than you throw it, or at least have a 50-50 split. You be boring. We're not looking for the home run ball. We're not looking for electricity. Just be boring. That's it. That's how you beat this team. On the flip side, the Eagles lost the game last week against Denver, as we mentioned, because the best running team in the National Football League decided last week to throw the ball 32 times and run it 11. That's the definition of being unbalanced. That's the definition of not dancing with the gal who brought you. And that's what happens when you don't dance with the gal that brought you. This week, apparently, as we told you in the last segment, Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Saquon Barkley. And you will notice that and that's the list that was reported, it was just those guys and Nick Sirianni. If that is the list, you will notice there's no offensive linemen in that group. There's no tight ends in that group. It's just one running back, the quarterback, 2 wide receivers, and a head coach. Do you think that they went into that meeting? Because if A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were willing to complain and moan in public about the offense when they were an undefeated 4-0 and the shortest odds in the NFC to win the NFC Championship, which they're not anymore, Detroit is now. If they were happy to complain publicly when the team was 4-0, do you think when they lost that those complaints hold the same weight? I would think not.
This is marriage counseling. That's what it looks like.
It feels like it is. And so the question mark now becomes, what did Nick Sirianni say in that meeting? Because I'll tell you what I would have said in that meeting. I would have sat down and I would have put Jalen Hurts on my left and Saquon Barkley on my right and the 2 wide receivers on the other end of a very long table. And I would have said, hey guys, Jalen, Saquon, did you guys have more fun this past weekend or the 4 previous weekends when we won every game? I'll even ask you, Devontae, AJ, did you guys have more fun when you were catching the ball 8 times for 41 yards and we lost, or when you were catching the ball 2 times for 15, 20 yards and we won? Because I got to tell you, as the head coach and the guy who is ultimately going to be judged by no number other than wins and losses, that's it. There is one metric that NFL coaches are gauged by, one and one alone, and it is wins and losses. I am judged by that, meaning my job performance was impacted negatively, even if you think you had more fun catching more passes but losing the game. That's bad for me. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back and we're going to do what won us a Super last year. And I am very sorry. And I will tell Jalen, I hope you're listening to this part of our made up and completely role play meeting that a dumb radio host in South Carolina is having right now. Jalen, if we are going to throw the ball, yes, try to find AJ. Try to find Devontae. AJ, with the understanding that you're going to be double teamed, what with the you being A.J. Brown part of this. But try to find him. But here's the thing. At the absolute best, we're going 50-50 run pass. I would prefer we go like 75-25 run pass, to be honest with you. We have got to go back, and especially this week against an NFC East opponent. So a loss here effectively counts as 2 games against an NFC South opponent who just lost to the Saints and 3 other teams. And all of those teams have proven that if you want to beat this team, you do it by being boring, by running the ball. Well, we have Saquon Barkley. We have Jalen Hurts. We have Will Shipley as a scat back. So we are going to run the ball 30-plus times against the Giants this Thursday night. AJ, if that is not okay for you, just let me know. I'll put you down on the healthy scratch list and you can sit out and your agent can start working the phones to find you somewhere to go because the trade deadline is coming up and I'm relatively confident we would fetch a healthy price for you. Devontae, do you think that there is another offense in the league that would take your scrawny ass and make you the number 2 wide receiver consistently? Probably not. But if you would be unhappy with 3 or 4 targets, 15, 20, 25 yards, maybe you get a breakaway, who knows? But if you're unhappy with that while we are winning a football game, then let me know. I will make you a healthy scratch and you can tell your agents to start looking around and finding you a new place to go. And when the trade deadline rolls around, we will be more than happy to send you to whoever is going to give us the biggest price because we control your contracts. We signed both of you very recently. How do you want to handle this? Do you want to be on a team that is a Super Bowl favorite out of the NFC? Do you want to be on the team that went 4-0 through the first 4 weeks and did so by leaning on the bread and butter of Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts in the run game? Or do you want to be on a team where you're going to catch 8 balls, 10 balls, you're going to have 40 to 80 yards, you'll have a touchdown every now and then, but you're losing to the Denver Broncos? Because I'm going to tell you right now, Nick Sirianni, of whom this is my natural speaking voice and inflection at all times. Nick Sirianni, the head coach of this football team. It doesn't matter if I had more fun one way or the other. I am telling you right now that my job is only impacted by wins and losses. And considering we are the reigning defending, I am likely on a shorter leash than teams that are bad and trying to get better. So, playing offense the way that y'all wanted us to play offense last week, that cost us the game. That's why we lost. We lost that game because we threw the ball 32 times and we ran it 11 with Saquon Barkley. So do you know what we're doing Thursday night when we take on the New York Football Giants? Saquon Barkley is going to run the football 25 times. Jalen Hurts is going to run it 5 to 7. Will Shipley is going to run it 3 to 6. We are going to run the ball 40 times in this game. We are going to grind this thing out because Drew Brees on CBS television called us 2 weeks ago a boring offense. Do you know what else he had to say about our offense? It was undefeated. And I don't know about you, but as a head coach whose job is impacted by wins and losses, I prefer to have no losses. So we're going to try to do that again. And more importantly, as we are only 5 games deep in the season, and there are a multitude of teams around the NFC that are 4-1, 3-2, within striking distance. One bad weekend for us, one good weekend for them, and all of a sudden we're not a clear-cut number 1 seed anymore. I would like for that to be a thing. I would like to do that again. So, in order to do that again, we're going to do the thing that worked. AJ, Devontae, if that's not good enough for you, that's fine. Let me know. Healthy scratch. Sit out. Your agents can work the phones. But if you are happy being on an undefeated football team, if you are happy on your way to another Super Bowl ring, good chance you're gonna do what we're gonna do. If the Eagles come out and they throw the ball 11 times tonight, right? If they're slinging that thing around the field like they're the 1998 St. Louis Rams, I'm going to go ahead and say, I kind of hope they lose, to be honest with you. I kind of hope they lose because It's a life lesson. It is a lesson to everybody. Youngsters out there, listen to Uncle Rob. If you're really good at doing a thing, if you are the best in your class or at your job or whatever at doing the thing, do the thing. Do the thing. Do that thing. And make sure that in whichever capacity you're doing that thing, you're getting compensated for doing that thing at the level of compensation you deserve for being the best at doing that thing. That's how you succeed, man. You find what you're good at, you find what you're better at than everybody else around you, and you do that. Philly stopped doing that. They lost the game to Denver. They had a pillow for the number 1 seed. Now they don't. I am interested to see what this team does tonight. If they come out this evening and they are trying to throw around like they are the greatest show on turf, then I cannot wait to watch them take a divisional L to the G-men. Go get them, Cam Scattaboo, you absolute menace to society and also your own health and well-being. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, it's Thursday. You know what that means. A segment I have literally never once in my lifetime forgotten. It is time for Fight Club. That's up next.
You guys got to quit reminding them. That's the only way.
It's written down.
Okay.
It's written down. I write it down now.
Well, I didn't get a tease.
Topics on tap.
Didn't
Lulu
get a
Kessin,
tease the entire show.
Philadelphia Eagles Fight Club.
It's all right. You guys knew it was coming anyway. So
that's next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys. One more live back after this. Stay right there for me, please. And thank you.
Well, welcome into the Fight Club, where we're going to take you to the Wayback Machine. The Wayback Machine, where you get in the Wayback Machine and you go way back. So we're going way back to, at least for me, it's a lot further back than it is for Rob, and I don't know if he had this experience. There was something about Saturday mornings. You would get up, get your bowl of cereal, you get in front of the TV, and you watch your cartoons, your favorite cartoons. Super Friends came on at 7:30. I'm getting up at 7:30 to watch the Super Friends. I know what came on after, all that kind of stuff. Well, this Saturday, you can do the same thing, except with wrestling. This Saturday, WWE Crown Jewel from Australia starts at 8 a.m. on the East Coast. That's right. So you get up 8 a.m., get your bowl of cereal, sit down in front of the TV, and watch some wrestling. And then it's perfect because it will end somewhere where you can watch the end of game day if you want, and then go right into college football. It's perfect. I love this. This is, and I get up every Saturday morning to do show prep for the best nerd show of all time, the Upstate Pulse, on Saturday nights. So I'm already up. So I can just throw that up on the TV while I'm doing my show prep and watch some wrestling. So I'm sure Rob will be up bright and early watching some Crown Jewel, especially since it doesn't emanate from a place that he hates. It's from Australia. And how could you hate the former penal colony?
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie!
Australia. I mean, so there's that. All right. Crown Jewel coming up. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, so far 5 matches. Who knows if more will be added before the by tomorrow. Doubt it, but you never know. All right, the first match coming up is Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. Last time they fought each other in the ring, Roman Reigns was taken out on a stretcher and wasn't seen for however long it took him to film that movie.
So I'll start with, yes, I do agree. And I will also say that because of the time, this is the first wrestling show, any type, that I have watched or that I will have watched live in months. Now, the overwhelming majority of that is because of the fact that football, baseball, basketball, they're all on now. And as much as I am a wrestling fan, have been, will stay, at the same time, it is my job, and I do like football a lot. So I've been kind of checked out. I've just kind of been following on the fringe, what's been coming across social media, whatever. And the fact that Crown Jewel is in Perth and not in Saudi Arabia makes me not feel like a terrible person for watching it, even if it is still a company that takes Saudi Arabian blood money. That's a different story for a different show. Well, different segment on this show. How about that? That being said, I think this is a massive event for WWE, who announced yesterday they are about to have a shakeup in their creative team. Okay, we got to get to that anyway. It's Fight Club.
No, I had to add on what they asked.
Okay, so this is, well, it's perfect for this. Having a shakeup in creative, and I will tell you the other reason this will be the first show that I've watched live in a long time is because it's felt kind of stale for me. It just has, and you don't have to feel that way. We probably don't all feel the same way, but for me, it has felt kind of stale. It has felt kind of forced.
There are bits and pieces that are, but there are still gems hidden in there.
Sure.
So.
But I can't sit around on Monday and watch 4 hours for a 15-minute gem somewhere in it. I'll just catch up on social.
All right. Well, they're only fixing SmackDown. They're not fixing Raw. So
we'll see. Yeah. If SmackDown takes off, as I hope that it does, then hopefully it'll catch on, because I think they kind of got comfortable. They did the shakeup with Hunter, and I think they got comfortable. Oh, everybody's watching us now. And then I think the numbers have started to the numbers just have dwindled. That's not a debate. That's a fact. You can chalk it up to football, whatever, but they have. So blah, blah, blah. I think they've got an opportunity with this to recapture guys like me, casuals. Well, not casual, but you get it. Like guys who aren't watching Raw live or catching up, whatever. And I think this match needs to slap.
Because football season is off season for wrestling.
100%.
Yeah.
But again, even if it wasn't, the product feels stale to me right now. I'm not saying it can't be fixed, and this might fix it. But that being said,
we were in the Wayback Machine where all those concerns are, you're just a little kid, you're getting up and you're watching the thing.
Oh no, I am doing that. I am doing that. I will be
the little kid again. It's okay, Rob. Put all that stuff aside and just have a good time.
Again, like being the little kid is great when you don't have actual responsibilities, right? Like an actual emotions about the world.
What's your actual responsibility at 8 a.m.?
Well, I mean, if I'm like, honey,
other than maybe you got to take the dogs out, she ain't gonna be up. You good?
No, she's like a 7 a.m. or even on the weekends. It's infuriating. Give me a Roman Reigns in this one.
Yeah, me too. Gets his revenge, and good on Bronson Reed being able, because he didn't have a match. Now he's going to have a match in the proximity of the country that he's from.
I did not confirm. He was a Kiwi, right? Isn't he from New Zealand?
You told me he's from New Zealand.
No, I asked.
And this was off the air. And we had a discussion about how that's still pretty close.
No, let's see. He is. No, he is. He's South Australian. He's from
there
Adelaide.
We go. Finally,
good for him. Is that?
He's also a Samoan, at least he said. So,
I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean,
but hey, man, it's wrestling. You can be whatever you want to be if you're entertaining enough. Here's the question, though. Is he in a spot? Is he in a Rhea Ripley spot?
Good for him.
Is he in a Rhea Ripley spot where you go, you got to give the Aussies an Aussie guy winning, or has he performed to such a heel level that even the Aussies are going to be against him in favor of the OTC?
Oh no, they're going to cheer for Roman Reigns.
See, I don't know, because I will tell you that
I hope they do. I hope they give him some love because he's in his country.
When like AEW comes through, when WWE comes through, I am the dude that when WWE was coming through and Roman was in the Tribal Chief, the Bloodline era, I was very much always wearing, he's from Pensacola. I always wore my Pensacola jersey and I put the ones up. Even if I was in front of a bunch of little kids, I'd tell them little kids, your guy sucks. Roman Reigns is my Tribal Chief.
I've witnessed that.
It's my favorite thing. So with that being said, I still think I've got to put the bet on Roman Reigns here.
All right, the next match, Asuka and Kairi Sane, Kabuki Warriors versus Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Speaking of writing that I think has been very good, I think the whole thing with Asuka and Kairi Sane and Io Sky has been really good. And it's setting up Kairi Sane to make her a bigger star. And I think once that turn happens, I hope they let her take off because she's been really good.
I agree with every aspect of that. Rhea Ripley's not losing this match in Australia. She's not going to do it. That being said,
is this when the turn happens?
I think I do. And even though she's already kind of been this, I think you get brutal heel Asuka out of this. I think brutal heel Asuka.
By the way, the snake on the face thing, that is wicked.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like going into you should check it out.
I think you're going to get her just absolutely devastating Kairi Sane. Kairi goes away for, rehab, whatever. And when she comes back, she is going to be a pop face.
All right. AJ Styles versus John Cena. You don't need a story for the last 4 or 5 things that John Cena is going to do because it's it. And AJ and John Cena, I'm looking forward to it because you're not going to see it again. And you're not going to see these guys in wrestling beyond next year. Unless they're doing appearances.
Both these guys are they're not going to be the guys that retire, but then they come back for 77 different farewell matches. That being said, I don't know if the goal is to put the strap on Cena one more time before he calls it or not. I love AJ Styles. This match is 1000% a tip of the cap to just wrestling fans, just fans of wrestling, just people who have watched these guys forever as fans. That being said, even with that being the case, there's not a world that John Cena is walking away with an L here.
All right. And I don't know where these next 2 matches really fall storyline wise, but I think they're fun. It's always fun when it's champion versus champion. Stephanie McCool versus Tiffany Stratton. We just saw Tiffany Stratton on Get Up just like an hour ago. I don't know if that was well, actually it probably would be live. I got to go. I'm going to go Stephanie wins. Because I think she needs a little more of a push than Tiffany does. Because she's a new champion. She's only had the belt for like a week and a half or something like that.
I think of the ones that I'm making a pick on, this is probably the one I'm least confident in. Stephanie McCare has obviously taken the wrestling world by storm, but she has done just the hot Latina version of what Tiffy Time did when she took the wrestling world by storm. You have the last 2 women who have organically created the fan movement behind them at it. I think this is going to be spectacular, but the reality here is Stephanie McCare has taken the world over by storm. She is their social media darling. She is their media darling. She is absolutely the hottest thing on the planet right now in wrestling. Stephanie McCare wins this.
Then maybe period. Who knows? Depends on your perspective.
So.
All right.
You know what I want though? I want a heel turn from Tiffy, but she doesn't change character at all. She's the exact same character. She just hates the person that you hate now. That's what I want.
I wouldn't be that much of a stretch. All right, one more match, and I want to get to a couple more things if I can really quick. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins should be they wrestle well together. All their matches are excellent, including the one when Cody tore his pec and he just dug that. Oh, it's just thinking about that.
That reveal of that shoulder is one of the greatest moments in recent memory.
It was.
Seth
Rollins finally gets a victory.
I agree. I think you have to. I think if you don't have Seth Rollins win this, like, what are we doing? What do you do with that? What do you do with that faction? What do you do with Cody at this point? Like, Cody is, I've said this before. I'm sorry if you disagree. Cody Rhodes is only interesting as an underdog. He's not interesting as a champion babyface. He's not interesting as guy that has earned his match. He is only interesting as an underdog who is chasing. And I think he needs to eat a couple of L's to reset that, to just run that. And this is the problem, is like, we're going to end up running the same Cody Rhodes storyline again. It's just chasing down Seth instead of Roman.
All right. I just want to say NXT is my favorite wrestling show right now.
I concur.
It just is. This is last week with the invasion angle and everything. We've seen it done a ton of times. There were equal winners on both sides. TNA has their big Bound for Glory pay-per-view this weekend. And there are a couple matches that I want to talk about really quick. First of all, for the X Division Championship, Leon Slater versus Javon Evans. This will be one of the best matches you've ever seen, more than likely.
Javon can go.
And so can Leon Slater. They're both kind of the same guys. Do they put another WWE star as a TNA champion? Because they're doing it a little too much, I think.
I think you have started to see, especially with, I'm assuming the other match we're going to talk about, with some champs from TNA that own WWE championship gold.
Yes.
I think you're going to see it happen a lot, but I also think you're going to start seeing TNA get some love back from NXT. I mean, TNA is now NXT's NXT.
Well, the women just won that battle there. 3 more matches really quick. Knockouts Championship, Kalani Jordan, NXT star, who's the current champion, versus Indy Hartwell, who used to be a WWE star. I think Indy gets it. You cannot keep these in order to keep both audiences interested, which does make me watch some TNA. I've never thought Kalani Jordan has that much of a personality. I do think Indy does. I think Indy wins because of some interference from somewhere.
Probably. I'm also going to say that if nothing else, like, the NXT crowd is dramatically more sentimental than the main roster crowd. And Indy Hartwell was an NXT, like a NXT gem for a minute there. I think you tip the cap you let TNA have a strap, but also you tip the cap to the NXT fans because, even though it's a TNA girl, they're going to pop for Indy Hartwell.
All right. The Hardys won the titles. So they got the NXT titles. So now they've won all the titles, which was pretty cool. I mean, pretty much knew it was going to happen. I thought the rest of Matt Hardy looks good. He is slimmed down. He looks good. I know you can make the face all you want. I think he looks good. But the Hardys versus Bubba Ray and Devon, and all the belts are on it. Bubba Ray and Devon are going to win the belts from the Hardys. You think so, or you don't think so?
No, I do think so, though I don't know for sure. This one's 50-50, but I would say yes, and I would say that even though it's not titled, and I don't know if this is just wishful thinking, with all due respect, like,
it's a tables match. How are they going to lose a tables match?
You know that if you are around my age, the Hardy Boys, Team Extreme, were a staple. Like, they were the great. Jeff Hardy was probably the greatest unifying force in wrestling for a while before he had all the issues. That being said, even though they're not calling it this, I have to assume this is a send-off match of sorts for the Hardys because they can't do it anymore.
Well, it's definitely a send-off match for Devon.
Yeah.
Because he's had to do everything he could to get ready for this match, and I'm guessing they protect him as much as they possibly can because of all his injuries and stuff throughout the years. All right, and finally, Trick Williams, who is the current TNA champion, versus Mike Santana. Mike Santana gets the belt because Trick is going to go after the NXT belt again.
I agree. Also, maybe it's just me. I think Trick's ready to move up, man. I really do. And I think the main roster could use an influx of talent again. Granted, they may just very well waste it as they've done the last couple of influxes in talent, but I think Trick's the guy that could go up and be a main roster star, to be honest with you. I think he could be a main roster star.
He needs to leave our guy alone, though. Ricky Saints.
Oh, man. Carolina's Finest versus Buddy of the Show.
One of my favorite interviews that we've ever done.
He was great. All right, that's it for us. We got to take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we'll set you up for all of these sporting events coming up this evening. Some final thoughts, and we wrap it up. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
Buckle up and get ready for a wild ride of sports talk. This is the Rob Brown Show on the Fan.
Vince would be furious. Yes, I know.
Here's the Sports
I know.
Flash presented by Progressive.
All right, is he framing that like that on purpose?
I don't know, but it's not. I wouldn't have suggested.
Yeah, it's not. I just
favorites to succeed.
I wouldn't have suggested. Stay right there, guys. We'll be right back.
Shine, sports fans. Grab your coffee and a jolt of sports on the Rob Brown Show.
It puts me in my zone. It gets me ready for the day.
On the Fan Upstate.
Wrapping it up, the Thursday edition of the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. And I got to tell you, yesterday was incredible for a few reasons. It was incredible because yesterday was, as we mentioned yesterday, the first day of 49 consecutive days where there is at least one college or professional football game on every single night. We have 7 consecutive weeks of football every night. That's awesome. That's exciting. That's fun. Then I have to say that while some of the games maybe weren't quite as competitive as I had hoped that they would be, these MLB playoffs are fun. I think last year's were more entertaining so far, but this year's have been fun. And it's been fun more about the I think more about the rivalries. I think more about the drama than it has been the baseball. I think last year's postseason was probably the best baseball we've ever gotten. I think this year is about as drama-filled as we've gotten in a very long time. We've already had one team eliminated. Yankees lose to the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday 5-2. They are done. They are on their way to Cancun. The Blue Jays moving on to the ALCS, where they await the winner of the Mariners and the Tigers of Seattle and Detroit, respectively. That game 5, an elimination game. Winner moves on. Loser joins the Yankees in Cancun. That elimination game is on Friday. But we have 2 games taking place today, both in the National League. At 6:08 p.m., the Phillies and the Dodgers will get after it. The LA Dodgers lead that series 2-1. The Phillies got a big win last night to stave off elimination. They must win 2 more in a row. This one is interesting for a few reasons. Number one, the LA Dodgers out of the gate in the wild card round and out of the gate in the divisional round looked like they had finally morphed into the team that we expected to win north of 105 games. That didn't do that. Then they went back to LA, and I was thoroughly convinced that they were putting Philly away in 3. It was going to be a straight sweep of the National League Divisional Series. Instead, despite having to go with Aaron Nola, who, again, had a good first half of the year, really rough second half of the year, but then kind of ticked up a little bit down the stretch. Like, they got 2 innings out of him. And when they yanked him, I'm like, oh, Rob Thompson, question mark here. What are we doing? But then he did what I did not necessarily expect, which was go to Ranger Suarez, another bona fide starter for this team. And I get it. You're against it, right? Like, even if you have a lead at that point, all it takes is a couple of bad innings from a middle reliever before you get to Johan or whoever's going to be your closer. All it takes is 1 or 2 bad innings from a couple of middle relievers, and you're eliminated. So you got to dig deep. You got to go find a win. So they go to Suarez. He gives you 5 good innings. Your offense wakes back up. The interesting thing about this series, though, is that in 3 games, the road team has won all 3. Dodgers won the first 2 in Philly. Philly won the first one back in L.A. So now the Phillies have to break the streak. The Phillies have to break the streak, because if they do not, it's ball game. So I'm very excited about this game tonight. And then at 9:08, another game I'm staying up very late for, because I'll have Giants-Eagles on one TV, and then I'll have Brewers Cubs on the other TV. And I'm quite pumped about this one. The Cubs staved off elimination with a win yesterday at Wrigley. They will try to get win number 2 at Wrigley today and force this thing to a decisive game 5 back in Milwaukee. We have the elimination game coming up tomorrow night between the Tigers and the Mariners. We'll break that one down. And then we have the game 5s, if necessary, and I hope that they are, both on Saturday for the NL. So big night tonight in Major League Baseball, because we could see 2 teams sent home, or 2 series going back to a game number 5. But that is not all that is going on tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to hockey season, because while we did have some games that kicked off earlier this week, we did have 4 games on the docket last night. Tonight is the night. Tonight is the night where the afterburner kicks on and the throttle gets pushed all the way through the console. We start at 7 o'clock. We have got 6 games at 7. Then the only game in the 7:30 slot, available on ESPN Plus and Hulu, the Jersey Devils on the road right up north of us in Raleigh, North Carolina, to take on our Carolina Hurricanes as they get their season started. Carolina minus 165. The over-under in this game set at 5.5. So we got that going for you. Another trio of games at 8 o'clock, a game at 9, 3 games at 10 p.m. The NHL is back, baby. It's good night sports. We got and we, of course, as we mentioned, we have the NFL game, the Philadelphia Eagles, 2 Philadelphia teams. We got the Philadelphia Eagles, and we've got the New York Giants tonight. Does Philadelphia do what they did last week and try to look like the Kurt Warner-led LA Rams from back in the day? Sorry, St. Louis Rams from back in the day. and go greatest show on turf, throwing it 11 times? Or does Nick Sirianni tell Devontae and AJ, hey, guys, like, you're players, you're not the coach. I'm the coach. We're running the ball because we have a guy by the name of Saquon Barkley. I don't know. We'll find out. That game's intriguing to me. And then in college football, La Tech at Kennesaw State, ECU at Tulane, Jacksonville State at Sam Houston, and Southern Miss at Georgia Southern all going on. Not necessarily a sexy Thursday night slate. Not a bad one either. Ladies and gentlemen, sports season is the best season.
The Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
And every day is a day to find out what is Xing. And the first thing is Xing today for the first time ever, 3 days in a row, but got to do it. LeBron James.
I want you to know, I had to assume LeBron was trending, so I didn't bring up that story that you sent me earlier so that it would be available for us here, and I'm glad that it is. According to TMZ, a lawsuit has been filed against LeBron James. A frustrated Lakers fan, according to TMZ, is suing LeBron after being, quote, duped, end quote, by his The Decision 2.0 advertisement for Hennessy. It led him to buy 2 tickets to the Lakers' final game, per TMZ. He spent, and this is actually shocking that it was this low, I guess, for a couple of tickets to one game. He is seeking $856 in damages. He bought them guessing, not assuming, guessing that the decision from LeBron was going to be, this is my last year playing either for the Lakers or playing NBA basketball. Instead, he said, the decision is drink Hennessy. The tickets, as we talked about, the cheapest tickets you could get to the Lakers 2 nights ago before the Decision 2.0, you could get a ticket for $82 to see the Lakers play the, whoever it was, Jazz. Lakers play the Jazz in mid-April. Those tickets went to $500+ as soon as LeBron said, stay tuned, the announcement to the Decision 2.0 is coming. Within like 30 minutes of the decision being a friggin' ad for Hennessy, those tickets tanked right back down to $82.
That's too bad, dude. That's too bad. He never once said it had anything to do with his retirement. You took it was a gamble. You took a gamble and you lost. Now you're going to spend extra money for lawyers just to lose?
To watch LeBron go play not his last game?
Yeah, the lawsuit.
What if it is though? What if LeBron plays that game? Because I got to tell you, I'm looking at, and this is going to be awful. I'm looking at the picture that was attached to the Hennessy ad. It is the first time that I'm like, dude, LeBron looks old. Like, he looks old. I have been, the last couple of years, I've been like, yo, look at LeBron. That dude is absolutely yoked. For a 40-year-old man plus, that dude is shredded. He looks as good as he could possibly look. As anybody has ever looked at 40. I'm looking at the picture of LeBron, the headshot LeBron that Hennessy used for the actual physical picture ad. And I'm looking at LeBron's face and I'm like, buddy, you look 40 now. I don't know if this just happened during this offseason. I don't know if it happened because of the ad. I don't know if it's just a bad photographer, but this is the first picture that I've looked at and went, you look like me now.
Listen, I think he'll be fine this year, but I also think it's his last year. And I don't think he'll do the retirement year thing. I know everyone thinks, well, he's so arrogant. I just think season's over. He'll say he's done.
I do think he does the retirement thing. I don't think it's because he's arrogant. I think it is because, let's give it a buck, LeBron James is a marketing guy. He's a PR guy. He's a my image guy. Always has been. The only controversies in LeBron's life have come around his image and trying to protect it and promote it and profit off of it. I don't think there's a reason that LeBron James doesn't do a tour of the NBA on a farewell tour, because he knows that's just going to build up the goodwill for them to immediately go, also buy tickets to Space Jam 3.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is Bailey Zappi.
Okay. So I said yesterday when Lonzo said, does the trade of Joe Flacco to the Cincinnati Bengals make Shedeur Sanders QB2? I said it has to, like by default, right? Like it has to make him number 2. And then yesterday, Kevin Stefanski went to the microphone and somebody straight up asked, is Shedeur Sanders now QB2? And Stefanski would not say yes. He said, I'm gonna watch the rest of practice play out, and then I'll make a decision as we go. And then there was a take very quickly off the cuff where he said, maybe we elevate Practice squad quarterback Billy Zappi to quarterback number 2. Bailey Zappi to QB2, and Shador stays at number 3. I'm stunned. And there is only one thing I am more stunned about by that, which is the Browns released yesterday. Every day they release their injury report and their current depth chart. They didn't have a QB1 on it yesterday. Yesterday, QB1 was blank. Dylan Gabriel was QB2. Shador was number 3. They straight up said, you guys are both behind, not a player. Spectacular. I love the Browns so much. You guys are the best things in football. Change your name. You don't deserve it, you jerks.
Well, they don't. Anyway, all right, let's go with one more, and that would be Mateer.
John Mateer is Xing because he has said that he wants to play against Texas on Saturday. Brent Venables has said, we got to play it out. We got to see. We'll see.
The charts came out. He's questionable.
He is questionable as of yesterday's injury report. Questionable, saying effectively 50-50 chance that he plays on Saturday. I got to tell you, there's a part of me that wants to just go ahead and lay the bet for Oklahoma right now because I don't think that they're teasing it if Mateer is not closer to playing than to not playing. And if John Mateer plays, and if it is a duel between John Mateer, who hasn't played football in 4 weeks, and Arch Manning, who just got outdueled by DJ Lagway, give me John Mateer with the rust on his arm over Arch Manning at this point. Are we at the point where we do have to say Arch Manning's just not that good? Because I think we are. I do. Hey, we'll talk about that tomorrow because the Red River Shootout and a lot of other great football is this weekend. Tomorrow, we break down the entire football weekend. He's Lonzo. I'm Rob. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Happy NHL Day, people.
The Fan Upstate.
Is the sports voice of you, the Upstate Fan.
Now I got to watch a Sora video of John Lennon versus George Harrison.
Mad World Haunted Attraction is now open. Voted one of America's top haunts in number
How did I
one
not
in South
come to that?
Carolina.
Bacon had a good run, though.
Mad World is much more than just a haunted house. It's a fall tradition like no other. Explore your way
maybe
through
not.
the award-winning haunted house,
But
trail
at the
full of
same time,
rooms,
like,
interactive
I think the
scenes,
plan
and
was
top-notch
to
actors.
now
Haunted
go
house is
one
not your thing?
deep.
We have
Even
18
with
hole
this,
mini golf, axe throwing, and
almost
carnival
kind of
games.
defaulting into a
Enjoy our
full
food,
game.
bonfire, roaming characters, 3D photos, gift shop, and fun for the whole family. Still too faint of heart? Grab one of our No Scare medallions to brave the
kids, we gotta
attractions with your friends. Got
Captain
kids?
America
They'll be
said
able to
the
take
whole
over
said,
the night. And
when you get
repel
off the air, I need you to
monsters
come to
that
my
lurk
office.
around. Mad World is the
Well,
Upstate's
that's not
most
good.
anticipated
What am I in trouble
event
for?
of the
And he said,
year.
nothing. I just
Get
feel like you
ready
may have
for
some
15
information that
years
I
of cheer
need.
at Mad
I was like,
World.
oh.
Located in
Oh.
Peabody off I-85,
Go with that.
exit
I don't know if I
35.
should have.
Buy your
You
tickets
should
now
have said
at
that on the air.
It's okay. Hey, if I'm not here tomorrow, you know what happened. Driving over the Green River Gorge while listening to the Rob Brown Show. Shout out, Steven. Appreciate that, buddy. Where is the Green River
I don't know,
Gorge?
but it sounds scary. It sounds like I'd have a panic attack.
Celebrating
Green River Gorge.
Probably would have a major panic.
Can refer to two distinct locations. A well-known spot in Washington State known for its dramatic forested gorge and swimming holes, accessible via Fleming Geyser State Park and the Franklin Ghost Town Trail, and a similar feature in North Carolina. I assume it's that one, also called the Green River Gorge, with hiking trails and outdoor activities like tubing and zip lining.
Love the savings.
Oh, it's so it's around Asheville. Oh, it's Saluda. It's near Saluda.
Family with him. Joey Hudson here for American
Okay,
Made
interesting. Never heard of it.
Now is the
May have to
time
put that on the
upgrade and
list.
upgrade your home with
The Green River
beautiful
Game
energy-efficient
Game
windows.
Lands is a state-owned 10,000-acre section for wildlife conservation for hunting, fishing, and trapping per regulations. Most of the hiking trails are rugged and only recommended for experienced hikers. Here's the thing. I hear that a lot. I have never once, like, I go snow skiing, I hear double black diamond only for experienced skiers, and I'm like, all right, like, I'm probably not going to do that one. Like, I'm a good skier, but like not that. You hear whatever is this activity not or this particular activity not recommended for anybody but an expert. How do you become an expert hiker? Just not. It feels like it's just not falling down on rocks.
And don't die.
Like, as long as you don't fall down on rocks.
If you hiked for 10 years and didn't die, I guess you're an expert. I don't
But like,
know.
if I go out, is it because like, is it just length of the trail? Is it terrain that you have to be concerned about? That'd be my thought.
From the things that they were.
But even still, like, I'll put it this way. Any other time that they're like, hey, this particular edition of this particular activity not recommended for anyone under an expert level, I have never seen a sign that says this trail for expert hikers only and been like, oh, I better not do that. I'm just like, all right, I'll tie the shoes up a little tighter. I'll be fine. And it's not a disrespect to hikers. I love hiking. I'm just saying, I've never seen this trail for experts only and been like, ooh, this is probably above my pay grade. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a jerk. Who knows? Hey, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for being here. Tell your friends about us. We'd like to get rich and retire. Goodbye.